the drivers are just about ready to go and head into our beautiful arena out here in Seattle. They've been through the qualification process, both for the individual and teams, and now we're ready to finally welcome in these individual drivers. We're going to be having 12 guys out on the track be able to compete in this individual racing. And you can see him right there. That's our defending champion, Road Runner. He's already leading the pack. And what about Lightning, man? Boasting the hair.
Yeah, Lightning with that long hair this season. He's coming in strong. Got
some of the youngsters
there.
Right there with Force One and racers.
Yeah, absolutely right. Rossi just behind. Chic Pizza there coming in as well. Fastest driver in China. That's going to be an interesting story.
And I know for you, you know, and Mellis, you guys do a lot of racing. You guys call a lot of races. Is there any advantage to sort of where you're sitting in these pods in our arena?
You know, I think the biggest advantage will be being seen to have an advantage. I don't think there is an advantage there. I think it's all smoke and mirrors. If you can lean around and be like, oh, I can see your screen. You know, hey, great car, great livery, man. Then that's the mind game starting. That's you clicking in and starting to win some mental points before the race has even started.
Well, if you guys want to get involved in our voting, make sure you head out to ForzaRC.com, get registered. You could be one of the racers out here. And here is the grid for the start of these individual races. We have Lage, Roadrunner, Racers, the youngster, making a good move there in the individual. Rossi, any other names out there that pop into your mind of the first 12?
You know, Racers there in third. You sounded surprised when you saw it, Scott, because this guy, he's barely old enough to buy a moped, and he's out here putting it third place on the grid in a Lamborghini Vignino. That is crazy performance from him. So good stuff. There he is at his seat right there. I mean, some surprises there, definitely Racers. Seeing Lage and Roadrunner at the front, though, for me, that's part of the course.
I mean, and for Lage, you know, his story is he didn't achieve what he thought he could achieve. He's on his home soil in France, at, you know, the famous Le Mans track. Couldn't get it done. Roadrunner, we were talking about Lage and Lightning for the whole season. All of a sudden, Roadrunner, meep, comes out of nowhere and takes the whole thing.
You know, I think that Lage and Lightning both think that there's a bill sitting on Roadrunner's table, and at some point he's going to have to pay for it because he got away with it last time out, not necessarily going to happen the same way this time. But yeah, he's got it all to prove. They all do.
So these 12 drivers are going to go through 4 races. We've already set the grid for race number 1. Now race 2 will depend on how they finish for this one. And then race 3, we're actually going to have a reverse grid. We've been calling for it for a couple seasons. We've been asking for it. Finally got it, the reverse grid in race 3.
I can't wait. I mean, you see certain racing skills come out in races, you know, hot lapping speed, running from the front, trying to overtake. But reverse grids, they bring out defensive drives.
Yep.
How well can you hold your line? How can you take that apex? How can you make it difficult for someone behind you who, let's face it, is likely to be a little bit faster than you on one lap pace?
So that's going to be interesting how they handle the traffic when we get to race 3. Of course, you guys will be able to vote on what the track and car combo will be for that. And a lot of different things are going to change. We'll get to some of the assist changes here in a moment, some of the adjudication process. But I think, you know, for these drivers, it's been a long off season. You know, we sort of put a bow on Forza 6. Forza 7 drops, you know, be able to have guys to have time to acclimate to the game. It's been out for about 5 months. Is there anything there in changing from Forza 6 to Forza 7?
There's always little things you have to relearn. You know, the game is played in tiny increments. Just a small amount of thumb movement coming into the corner will help you that little bit more, find a half a tenth, be more consistent. You're always going to have to relearn things like how to use the steering, how to apply the throttle, how to use the brakes whenever a new game comes out. And you've definitely seen that. I'm expecting to see some changes in the pecking order because of just that.
Well, let's get to the adjudication process. Brian, we're going to welcome him into the broadcast. He's standing by.
That's right. The one question we always get in a Forza RC event is, what is adjudication all about? We're here with Elliot Lyons from Turn 10, who is sort of leading the adjudication along with Gfinity, our tournament operators. Elliot, let's start with the basics. What is adjudication?
It's a very long word, isn't it?
Right.
It really just means about enforcing the rules, right? These guys are going to be racing. They're going to be using all the track limits and around the track, hopefully not bumping anybody. But adjudication is really about the team of people watching the race, making sure everybody is following the rules, they're on track, they're not doing anything they're not supposed to be doing, and at the end of the race, making decisions about what should or shouldn't happen, and then making the results final.
And you guys have a whole team that are here working in a sort of cramped, small room, working really hard after every race, right?
Yeah, so we have a big team, and they're dedicated to watching the pods and watching the action unfold. And then they go through and they call out the things that they see. We go back and we review it. But yeah, everybody has a very specific job, and they all need to follow through so that we get to the end.
Tell me about the kinds of things you're looking for on track. What constitutes a penalty versus not?
Yeah, right. So we're at the Invitational, so we expect all these guys to be driving at the really high level. But the more common things are, again, the track limits, that they're not going too far off the track, 2 wheels on the track. There's no corner cutting to gain that little extra tenth. I mean, we're down to tenths with these guys, right? And then bumping, right? We don't want to make sure that nobody hits somebody else that causes them to gain an advantage or a disadvantage in the race.
And that's really, with contact happens in races, but there's sort of a fine line that you guys have to discuss in the room, right?
Yeah, so I mean, rubbing's racing, right? You all kind of grow up with that. That's fine. But yes, we're looking to see where the advantage is. And sometimes when something happens, it's 5 cars back. So what you think happened isn't really what happened. We have to spend the time and walk back through that tape and make sure, no, it was that guy that started the whole chain reaction of things.
And that's why you have so many people in that room looking after it, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it takes all of those eyes to make sure, I mean, these guys are at the high level. And so we have to be at a high level as well to make sure that the integrity of the championship and the race is upheld.
So one thing to point out for viewers is that the results at the end of a race are preliminary until adjudication has finalized them with all the different decisions that may come, penalties or no. We expect these guys will do pretty well today.
Yeah, we invited them for a reason. These are our top guys. You know, we expect them to have some fun, have some good racing. It's going to be exciting. These guys are fast.
Well, there you go. We don't expect much to happen on the track, but if it does, we've got the right team here for it. Guys?
Appreciate it, Brian and Elliot. Always good to see those guys, and we'll have a lot of more Brian throughout the broadcast today, along with Mellish and Shannon joining us. And we can't wait for John Heinhaw to get to finally call some Forza action, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, you know, Elliot there just going through adjudication. Like, when all these guys are out there racing, the red mist descends.
I went into the adjudication room. It's pretty bananas in there.
Yeah.
They told me to leave immediately, but I at least got a sneak peek.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a little tool for slapping wrists in there. I think they just go around knocking, rapping knuckles as they go around the track. I mean, it's good to have some discipline out there because, you know, you can punish the things that go wrong, but given the time back, you can't do. And so it's about stopping it happening altogether. And
we could see some more penalties today because not only have they made it tough on them, you know, with the new weather increments and things like that, there's also we've turned off traction control. And so let's invite Mellish in one more time, third member of our broadcast team. Mellish, first of all, what the heck is traction control?
Well, to strip it all down, Scott, it's literally the ability to kind of like control the car under throttle response to make sure that the back end is stable, because these are high performance cars. And you know, they're not gonna have that ability anymore. They're gonna have to feather that throttle, and that could be the difference between making or losing a position.
And so when we look at this, and you look at the 12 racers we have, and if there's weather involved, how is traction control going to affect these 12 guys?
I mean, it's not so bad. It's not so bad in the dry. I mean, they got the grip and they got the temperature from the track and the tires, so they're able to maintain a level of traction without the traction. But in the wet, I mean, these puddles, if you've got traction, it actually enables you to go through the puddles without bogging down. I mean, this is a term that we know in the Forza community. It kind of destroys your momentum through any kind of corner if you hit a puddle. But these guys are not going to suffer from that.
I appreciate that, Mellish. That's going to be interesting, Ali, as we get through the racing today, is how much that traction control is going to factor in. Because I know even Roadrunner said at times on some of his overtakings, he knew if he had traction control on that it would kick in at the right moment, that he could keep powering through some of those overtaking curves.
Yeah, I mean, you're so right. I could listen to Mellish all day, right? You know, talking about traction control, he's got such great knowledge on
it. Nerd cave.
Yeah. You know, I was right in there. Yeah, Roadrunner, you know, we saw him out there last corner of Spa. You know, Lightning got a little bit high on the curb, and that was Lightning's traction control kicking in. Roadrunner himself, he's got this first finger on the throttle. Like, I don't know. It's just the most accurate tool in the whole world, because he's always able to apply that power without overspinning the rear tires, and that's what's made him a Forza racing champion.
We have some incredible drivers here that we'll be watching throughout the first individual race, but we also got the favorites, but we also got the underdogs Shannon, what the heck is going on with some of these new faces?
That's right, guys. I'm here in the room here with all the guys. They're getting ready to start that first race, and if good karma plays a role in success, my underdog to watch today is going to be Rossi. I spoke with him the other day. I asked him, if there are 3 words that you could describe yourself as a driver, what would they be? And his only word was cautious. I saw him this morning before qualifications helping some of his competitors, and you know, he is a fan favorite, but he did come out at 4th in qualifications, so he'll be the one to watch if he becomes a little bit more aggressive. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Shannon. Of course, Shannon McIntosh is going to be with us throughout the broadcast as well, getting into the mind of the racers. And, you know, at dinner last night, you and I were talking about Rossi. He's a guy that has sort of been running in the middle of the pack for a while now. Does he have that, I hate to say killer instinct, he's such a nice guy to be able to power up into that top 3?
Yeah, you know, I jumped off the plane here and almost went straight into a bar with Craviator, who's Rossi's team manager. He says that over the off-season, he's been firing Rossi up, you know, giving him all that sort of, what's the phrase? Ice in the mind, fire in the belly, kind of like that killer attitude that he needs to overtake. Because we've seen him, despite having great pace, not being able to get through to the clean air to apply. He's been stuck behind slower drivers.
And it's a lot of times, unlike some of the other guys we have here, like Hard BR, that will pretty much, if you give him this much, he's putting the nose of his vehicle in there. For Rossi, he's sort of like, oh, let me get out of the way for a moment here, let you pass by.
I love the English accent for that. But you're so right. You know, he's waiting for somebody to offer him the position. It's never going to happen. This is the Forza Racing Championship. These are the best drivers on the game. They're not going to give anything away.
Well, let's bring back Mellish in one more time because we're about ready to go on Sebring. Mellish, we got the Lamborghini Vino on Sebring. Remind us again, that's a crazy combination.
Yeah, we covered it a little bit easier earlier on. Wasn't too much detail, and I think we should go into it a little bit more. It is perfect for Sebring. It really is. I mean, like the first corner, these guys are going to have so much understeer. Like, they're going to have to throttle response into turn 2, and that is going to be the key point. The kind of first sector, the first split sector, is going to be the most difficult for the drivers to get through because they've got to be able to balance and transfer that weight and power and shift through those alternating left and right corners down towards the hairpin. Now, the hairpin is where the balls drop for these drivers, in a sense, because now they're going to have to dive down the inside, and they haven't got that rotation in the car. So we might see the blip of the handbrake. That is going to be coming into play. But for me, it's all about going into the last corner, Sunset Bend. It's just pure concrete. The car bumps and skips over it. But because these guys have got no traction, it's not going to bog down. It's just all going to be about the control of the car.
Well, tell us a little bit about this Lamborghini Vino. You mentioned the bumps. I mean, this was an old Air Force field, but now they got to get in this Lamborghini and try to keep it on the track.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's ideally suited for the track in itself. The car is four-wheel drive, so it can handle all terrains, really, and it can handle that concrete more importantly and more specifically tailored to Sebring. The kind of thing that you're going to look out for, though, is the braking. It's got beautiful braking. It has a pro, though, to kind of like, you've got to trail brake into the corners, and that's going to be the defensive capability of these drivers. They can get out in front, trail brake into the corners, and then cut it off.
That's going to be very interesting down in Sebring, Florida. For our first race of the day, let's go ahead and reveal the grid once again. These are the ways these guys are going to be setting up. It's Legion Roadrunner out front, Racers, Rossi. Surprising to see maybe Lightning all the way down at 7.
You're absolutely right. That's going to be the big ringer in this race. Lightning's got incredible pace. We know he's come here after a lot of practice. He wants that title back after losing it last time out. So, yeah, 7th place, he won't be happy with that. Same time, this grid is just so fast. You can't really be unhappy with sitting on it. No. And, you know, good to see Racers up there, good to see Rossi up there, and Box as well. That's always one to watch.
And look at those flags. It just shows you the breadth and the width of, you know, the ForzaRC with France. You got UK there. We got Brazil, Australia with Knee. And, of course, the good old US of A in there as well.
It's such a global game. It's great how, you know, the teams are made up of people from all over the world. They get together and chat over Xbox parties and yeah, make friends. It's such a great way to do that.
Well, you heard Mellish. How do you feel about this Lamborghini Vino out on Sebring?
You know, it's such a crazy car. You know, I was saying before, it's like a car guy wanted to make a meal and kind of just went, I'm gonna have ice cream and bacon on there. I'm gonna have some waffles.
Sounds delicious.
And put a pizza on top. You know, all the things I like in one place. Is it necessarily make a balanced automobile?
No,
maybe not. But it's a lot of fun to drive. Yeah, Sebring. I mean, it's a track that's, you know, I was out there last week. It's bizarre. The concrete is bumpy. Off-camber bits and bobs, you know, it's just it's a real. You can't concentrate too much on being exactly where you want to be on the track. You just got to hold on tight and kind of bear it.
Well, you know the car, you know the track, you know the grid. Let's get racing here in Seattle. How about it, Allie? We've been waiting a long time. 8 months is the last time we were out on the track. It's a new game. It's a new year, and we're kicking it off right here at the Pre-season Invitational. Well, Sebring is the track, the International Raceway in Highlands County that opened in 1950, only closed once. That was in 1974 for fuel shortage. You're not going to have to worry about fuel, tires, or anything else today. Just keep it in the lines.
Every single one of these drivers wants to make an impact now. It's the first race of the year, Scott. They're out here eyeing each other up across that tournament floor. And if they start strong, who knows, maybe they can also finish strong.
And we are green here on Sebring as they get into turn one. That's Lage already out in front. He was pretty proud of the paint job he had.
I think I saw a banzai from Box there. He's up to second place after turn one. That guy absolutely flying off the start. So Box all the way up from what was like the third row on the grid to second place.
Yeah, he's already made a move. So Lage out in front, and we have Box, GT, Kriz, and there's Roadrunner falling back from second to fourth already. Bullied.
You can see it, Roadrunner right off the start. He wants all that respect that you should give a champion, but none of these guys are willing to give it. GTZ Kriz up the inside of Box right now.
There's a battle, as you mentioned, between Box and Kriz as they move their way around Sebring. 3.74 miles, 17 turns. You can see Box get a little squilly. And Roadrunner's off on the side.
That face, you can see him just trying to bring that car in, just moving away from his Xbox a little bit. He doesn't want to see what's on that screen because things are going a little bit wrong for the German driver. Here we are on board with LMR Harmonic.
Harmonic's a guy that you, although he's been around for a long time, you sort of still see him as an underdog.
I do. Harmonic is one of these guys who's incredibly fast on the leaderboard, super able to qualify for the Forza RC, but doesn't necessarily shine when we're out here in the events and winning prizes.
So Lage out in front, Racers there in the middle, and you can hear that 740 horsepower of the Lamborghini Vino. And there's Lightning still hanging on at seventh. That's where he started.
He'll be disappointed with that. TX3 Lightning, his first race with the virtual drivers from TX3. Of course, this is still the individual competition, but he'll be disappointed he's not further up the field after the start of this race. He's fighting instead with THR Nee.
Yeah, Nee from Australia, one of the fastest guys in that entire continent. He's come over to Seattle, though, to see what he can run on his chops. As we're already into the second lap. Well, Box, after that early start, pushed him up in a second. As you can see, a couple more guys getting off on the side. Dropped all the way back down to sixth. So a hot start for Box, but he's fallen back all the way to sixth place, right in front of Lightning.
The guy this is playing into the hands of is Lage. Lightning looking at that screen. He doesn't have that spark in his eye right now, does he? He's got a little bit of a depressed look. He needs to keep those shoulders up. He needs to keep that confidence high. And he needs to splash some cold water on his face right now before he loses any points in this competition.
Force One has moved up 6 spots into third place. As you see Lage. And this is a narrative that we've seen, especially in the invitationals. If Lage can grab that pole position, as long as he doesn't stall out, yeah, he's a guy that can really run away and hide.
Yeah, exactly. This is what Lage loves. He likes to get away at the front, put those laps in, keep those smooth lines flowing. It's when he gets challenged, when he gets knocked around, that he's got trouble. We're on here with Lightning, no engine damage, so you can see that on the right-hand side there. He's not hurt that car.
No, he's got a clean car. He's running a little slow here. And some of the folks we talked about, I mean, it's a very minute changes between 6 and 7 as far as the carring, and we can get deep in the weeds talking about some steering. Obviously, the graphics are much improved. But some people have this mental block, you know, guys like Roadrunner and Lightning that feel like just a change from 6 to 7, they become slower.
You're right, you know, and a lot of the ForzaRC is about believing that you're the fastest person out there, because if you've got that faith in yourself, if you think I should be at the front of this pack, it's bizarre. You find yourself there. You find yourself there every time.
Moving into lap 3, riding along with Knee as we go into that left-hander turn 1. You go 1, 2, 3. It's all about setting up for the big bin or the gurney bin to take you all the way down to hairpin.
Yeah, you're right. Such a tricky first sector, and this little pack at the front is so close together. GTZ Chris still sitting in second in this race with Force 1 finishing out the podium. I mean, with all these very, very fast, very, very aggressive drivers on track, it's hard to know if they're going to be able to keep themselves out of the walls.
Coming down into hairpin. It's where we thought we might see a little handbrake as they go up Rafaggio chicane into the Cunningham corner. Just a historic track. You can tell by the corners of Cunningham. You know, you talk about the Gurney Bend. I mean, these are historic, famous racers that really built the motorsports.
I love it because the track is so historic, so classic. It has those old pieces of concrete on it we were talking about earlier. And then the machinery that you run on top of it, the cars that you put on this track are up to date. They're every bit of modern technology flying around what should be a museum.
Yeah, back in the 1940s, this is where they had the B-17 Flying Fortress for the U.S. Army. And when you get on that Flying Fortress straight, when you come out of turn 13, making your way down to the Bishop Bend, that's where you can start to feel not only some undulations, but those cracks and the bumps in the track.
Go that fight through those bumpy sections of the track for second place. Chris starting to look like the cork in a bottle of champagne here that's getting shaken up, and he's second. This whole thing is going to go on fire. Already
moving on to lap 4, and they've been able to handle Sunset Bend. We haven't seen a ton of overtaking. See Force 1, and that is boxed once again. We talked about it last night. He is a magnet for carnage. Yep. When destruction's involved, it's going to be boxed.
If there's trouble on the track, Box will find it. He'll find a way to get involved. Super unlucky for him, and that, I'm afraid, already means that Box is running a recovery tournament here. Every race after this, he'll be chasing for points.
Look at this damage to his vehicle. You know, we got 3 laps to go. 3.5 laps. Is this worthy of a pit?
You can never gain the time back. You can never get it back. He's going to lose 45 seconds in the pits. He's going to lose 5 seconds a lap. If he keeps braking like that, he's going to lose more. You know, there's no good answer to this for Box. He's just got to limp it home and take any points that he possibly can.
You see Lightning looking on, and he was able to avoid a little bit of the carnage, move himself. So running at the back now is Box. Rossi is all the way back in 12th. Let's look in the middle of the pack here. Lightning trying to chase down Force 1 here as Roadrunner has been patient. Started at number 2, fell back to 5th, but now finds himself in 3rd.
Yep, Roadrunner, how does he do it? Just sneaking through. We're on board with Harmonic right now, running at the rear of this pack. I guess still ahead of Box. It's all these guys at the back to the making up positions. But yeah, up there at the front, Roadrunner's found his way back again after getting bullied from the start of the race. And you can see that look in his eyes. Yeah, he's a predator.
He's leaning forward, trying to get him back in this first race here at Sebring. Let's bring in a third member of our broadcast team. We talked to Mellish earlier before the race. Now we're mid-race. What the heck is going on with Harmonic?
Yeah, man, that was a real bad accident there, caused by Box into the first corner, clipped the wall on the inside and just caused an absolute domino effect across the pack there. And he wasn't the only person to succumb damage. Alamar, Harmonic has both got 100% of steering as well as hard RBR. So Alamar and TX3 really suffering here in this race.
Appreciate that, Mellet. The overall effect that players like Box and Harmonic can have on the track, you never know what you get. These are guys that could easily take the checkered flag, or they could easily be well out of the race and get DQ'd.
You know, once is luck, twice is bad luck, 3 times is really, really bad luck. But, you know, when you're getting knocked every single time, you got to start thinking, is it something I'm doing out there? You make your own luck as a racer.
So out front is Lage. Chris is behind him. Roadrunner in third. There's Force 1 still holding on to fourth as Lightning has moved up 2 spots into fifth. But Force 1 doing a nice job running a defensive line, trying to be quick, but also trying to hold out Lightning.
Yeah, Lightning has done an outstanding job to work his way forward through this pack. He's been patient. He's allowed people ahead to make mistakes. He's come up from 7th place, only up to 5th, but that battle for second is condensed. There's not a lot of space between those cars up ahead, and I think he can sniff a podium here.
Yeah, the big battle right now is between second and third, between Chris and Roadrunner. Lage he's not well out in front, but there's the action right there. That's GT Chris has been a guy that we know he's fast. He just needs a few things to go his way. And he's been able to hold on to that second position most of the time as Roadrunner's trying to battle his way back in, coming around the Sunset Bend.
This is massive for all of these drivers. It's the points that you get from finishing in a position. It's also the grid position you get in the following race.
That's right.
You cannot afford to leave one little piece of effort on the table. You've got to put everything into this race. Roadrunner wants that second position. He's got 2 laps to get it, and Chris is running.
I'd like to welcome you folks in to the Forza Racing Championship 2018 Pre-season Invitational. Of course, we're presented by IMSA. Going down to the final laps, in lap 6 of 7. Of course, the home of the 12 Hours of Sebring. Mentioned it opened in 1950, New Year's Eve.
Is it too early to say, Scott, or is Lightning suffering from the change from Forza 6 to Forza 7? Is he one of the people who's going to be in the mid-pack now?
It's going to be interesting to see how Lightning performs. It's the guy that won the Invitational a year ago in New York. The Harmonic running all the way back at 10th. Hard BR. He's about where we thought he would be in that 9 to 12 position. But he's a guy that could also get aggressive out there on the track as we move through today. There's your leader, Lage.
It's good to see him back out, confident, running that race from the front. He hasn't had it his way for a very, very long time, but it's like an old pair of slippers, right? He's just slipped back in there, comfortable as anything on the track, and he could run laps around Sebring in a Veneno all day and all night.
I mean, he's a guy that when he gets out in front, I mean, he really has a huge lead over Chris. You see Roadrunner continuing to try to push.
I love the aggression there, how close Roadrunner got to the wall on the entry to T17. That's incredible, and this is his run. A little knock on the wall.
Yeah, lost some speed coming out of Sunset Bend, coming up right across that start-finish line for the final lap of race 1 here at Sebring. Lage well out in front, but can Roadrunner, who started in 2nd position, reclaim that spot over Chris?
This is what we need to be watching for this last lap. Roadrunner hunting down GTZ Chris, and look at that, sideways on the way out of Sector 1. Roadrunner, every little bit of power, every piece of that 740 brake horsepower, and that Lambo Veneno being applied to the concrete here at Sebring.
Pushing the track to the very limits here as they're coming around the Gurney Bend, heading down toward turn 7, the hairpin. That's usually a place where you can have an opportunity for some overtaking. We just haven't seen, between the gurney bin and the hairpin, we haven't seen many of our drivers have an overtaking possibility.
Roadrunner is just ragging that car. I'm listening. Yeah, they haven't had many. Yeah, right. I'm watching this guy. He is just on the exit to every corner, just flooring it. And he's so wide, using every little bit of track, using more than the track limits, way out there on the grass.
Well, you start to get aggressive. That's what you're seeing right now. You start to push Chris. Next thing you know, right behind you is Lightning, who's moved into that 4th position. Force 1 finally having to give way to the faster Lightning.
Can Lightning get the podium? Just a few corners remain. Lap 7 to 7 here, and he's looking at the rear of the reigning Forza Racing champion.
Here on the final lap, coming down the back side of the track. Those big turns, 14, 15, 16, setting you out for the Ullman straight. And here they are on the straight.
Yeah, he's tucked into that draft right now. It's not going to be able to do it on the way into turn 17. He needs to rely on Roadrunner making a little mistake, losing the rear, losing the front through T17. Look at that line from Lightning. He's out wide. He's going to cut back in now. Can he make the move?
Chris is going to look like he's going to lock on to 2nd place. Can Roadrunner hold on to 3rd? He's got Lightning in the rear view mirror as they come across the finish line. And Roadrunner, so Lage, Chris, Roadrunner, that's your 1, 2, 3 provisionally.
You know, I don't know what got into Lightning halfway through that race, but he was on fire. He came back from a poor qualifying, a tough race, but that's a 4th place finish and a 4th place start in race 2 for Car Lightning.
That's not bad. When you start at 7, you're able to work yourself up to 4th place. I mean, of course, Lightning always wants to be, you know, on the podium, but to have the opportunity to come up and push guys like Roadrunner, that shows you that he really hasn't fallen off maybe as much as we thought. And remember, this is the Invitational. This is the warm-up to the season. You got a couple weeks to sort of get back into the race of things and to have an opportunity, iron sharpens iron, to get a race against the best.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're sitting here on the desk and it's, you know, it's our thing to make that drama, you know, so I'm like, you know, 3 laps in, has Lightning lost it? I think he heard me. So straight back out there. I mean, and good to see him just applying that pace onto the track and threatening a very, very tough top crowd. You know who's interesting, though, up there at the top? GTZ Chris.
Yeah.
2nd place. That's amazing.
Yeah, Chris is a guy we've talked about it time and time again where he could be one of the fastest guys out there or could catch a bit of, you know, a bit unlucky from time to time and be down there at the bottom of the barrel. He'll have some great top finishes, accumulate some amazing points, and then the next thing you know, the 3rd or 4th race in, he's down there at 11.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like a sneaky kind of driver. You don't ever see him on the camera. You don't celebrate him at the end. It's like 1st is Lage, 3rd is Roadrunner, and then we don't even look at the 2nd place of the podium. And then at the end of the tournament, it's like, check it out. You know, Chris is up there, ranked right at the top of the Forza Racing Championship.
Let's take a look at the Michelin moment there on Sebring. It was all Lage. I mean, he had the pole position, and he did not relinquish throughout the entire circuit of Sebring.
Yeah, we're going to watch him here through this final corner. It's just so smooth. That smoothness, that steering input that just says, I'm confident on the track, I'm never going to make a mistake, and I'm just as fast as anything. Look at him here, running straight out the final corner and across that line.
What's the toughest difficulty? Is it unbeatable? Because I figure they took Lage, right, and said, how can we take this guy and make our own AI adjustments? Instead of unbeatable, I should just say, all right, do you want to put it on the Lage setting?
Yeah. Right.
No thanks.
I mean,
I'm good.
Unbeatable is like a glass of orange juice with half water. Lage is like squash. You know, he's pure, unadulterated speed. That guy, incredible.
So let's take a look at here at race 1. We talked about the guys up at the top. You had some guys fall back like Box, who really at the start shot up into 2nd place and then fell off, as always he does, finds the carnage somewhere out there on the track.
Yeah, you know, Box, like, he's incredibly fast, a great overtaker. He's got the consistency to get good finishes. We've seen it so many times, and yet, what else have we seen so many times? He's caught up in an accident. I can't explain it. I can't sit here and tell you why that's happening, but that's something he needs to look at.
See, I know enough that I'm sitting here that know I'm nowhere close to as fast as these guys. But if you're sitting at home watching us right now, go to ForzaRC.com. You can sign up. The season hasn't started. Those are the questions I get all the time, Allie, is how do I get involved? Well, that's one of the reasons we do this invitational is to let you guys know the season's kicking off. All you got to do is go out there to the website, register, and we can see you out here on the track.
Exactly. ForzaRC.com is the place to go. Get your gamer tag linked up to your account there and get involved with all of the different parts of the competition. We've got world rankings this year. We've got a huge amount of different competitions happening. And, yeah, every single stage of that, you're going to win Forza points and you're going to get yourself way up there to the top of the table.
Well, we called the provisional results. Let's take a look at the full grid here. Lage out in front, Chris is second, Roadrunner third, Lightning Force 1 and Razors there in the middle. Neat, who started well back from Australia, maybe was able to take advantage of some of that carnage out on the track. Chic Pizza also moving into ninth, but there's Harmonic and Box. So much talent between those two drivers. That tells you how stacked this field is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as Mellish rightly called during the race, it was those two getting tangled from that top mid-pack group and tumbling down the order, both of them taking damage and just spoiling each other's race. They'll be staring across the competition floor at each other right now and thinking, you know, are we still buds? Are we going to have a beer after this, or is that the end of the dream?
Well, let's go over to where the drivers are with Shannon McIntosh. What'd you see, Shannon?
Like a shooting star, Racers may be the hottest thing in Forza RC right now. He's only 17 years old from Silverstone, England, and as you saw, provisional results have him sitting in 6th right now. He's here chaperoned with his father, one of the youngest guys in the field, and sitting all the way in 4th or 6th. He's got a lot to prove, but he's here with the best racers in the world. When we come back, you'll see the list that you wish you were on. The final results.
This is modern-day endurance racing, a set of sprint races between tyre changes and fuel stops.
It has definitely heated up inside the cockpits.
If at this moment you don't feel a twinge of excitement, if your heart is not beating a little bit faster, then you have no place calling yourself a motorsport fan.
It's time! Let's go sports car racing!
And now it is time for real or fake. All you have to do is tell me if you think the car I'm telling you is real or fake. Ready?
Let's give it a go.
What car?
Fake.
Real.
Real.
Fake.
It's real.
I mean...
Great Wall Wingle.
Fake.
Fake?
You've never heard of the Great Wall Wingle? It's real.
Oh, God. What?
Bimbo.
Fake.
Fake.
Real.
Fake.
Real.
Really? Wow.
Mysterious Utility Wizard.
Fake.
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 Real.
Really?
Bigfoot.
Real.
Fake.
Oh.
Do you believe in Bigfoot?
Yeah.
You do?
There's a monster truck named Bigfoot.
True.
It's a car.
You can challenge that one. Cappuccino.
Fake. Fake.
It's real.
Oh.
Mocha Roca.
Sounds good, but fake. Real.
Fake. So you thought a cappuccino was fake, but a Mocha Roca was real?
Yeah.
Flaming Parrot.
I want that to be real.
It's fake.
Darn.
Real or fake? Real, fake. You okay with that?
Bigfoot. Why wasn't Bigfoot real? That's shaking my world, Scott. It's shaking my world.
Well, these guys going through adjudication right now. Did you, besides the carnage, did you see anything else out there that was? I saw a few guys get all 4 tires off the track, but it's all about, does it create an advantage or not?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Roadrunner there at the end of the race, you know, just powering that car out of every corner, squirming all over the place. That's not the fastest way around the track. It's definitely pretty spectacular, though.
And so Box, getting caught up, you know, in that collision, had a lot of damage to his vehicle. Really surprised he didn't go into the pits, but you said it really doesn't save you time in a short race.
It doesn't. Your race is gone. you know, there's no saving it at that point. Box, he's damned if you do, damned if you don't. You know, he had no speed around the track. The car was broken. We saw the telemetry. Brakes were shot. The suspension was dead. When he goes, you can go into the pits if you like. You can spend 45 seconds getting a fast car and race nobody if you want. You know, it's just the end of his race.
So the interesting thing now, while we wait for the results, is what the folks are going to vote for out there. You got the Mazda on VIR, the number 70 car, or the number 66 on Road Atlanta.
I love the Ford GTLM around Road Atlanta.
It sounds sweet. All right?
Yeah.
It does
Make
sound
me
sweet.
happy. Vote.
See, I'm the other way. Of course, I mean, it's not a rotary engine, but I'm a rotor head. You know what I'm saying? I like the number 70 Mazda going around VIR. Something about the undulation of VIR just makes it a more interesting track over Road Atlanta. Not to besmirch Road Atlanta. That is my home track, not too far away from me. Actually, I'm sort of mid. I just thought about that.
Yeah?
I live mid-distance between VIR and Road Atlanta.
It's like a little metaphor for the choice that we all have to make at this point, right? You're living in a tiny metaphor.
North of VIR, which is all you got to do is be a member. That's a track that you can go ride.
That's absolutely that's so cool. That's so cool. It's a great track. VIR it's a decent car for it. I wonder if the car makes it a little bit too easy because, you know, going through 7, 8, 9, 10, those turns super fast, flowing, you're working speed up as you go. As you work speed up in that B12, you just get more and more downforce. You're pushed into the road and you get more grip as you go. So this is...
I want the extra credits, all right? So I'm in the yellow Camaro getting my 40% extra credits going around via VIR. Now, looking back at Sebring for race 1, was there anything out there that was surprising? Besides, you know, Box and Harmonic being at the bottom, Lage, you know, was able to move his stuff out. But how about racers? You know, Shannon talked about it in 6th place. Big shout out to his family out there watching across the pond. We walked in, we saw his dad. He's like, yes, the whole family watches each of the Forza broadcasters, and he couldn't believe that this thing even existed. It took for them to go to Le Mans last year. You know, racers went up to his dad and said, I think I've qualified for this thing in France at Le Mans. And he's like, what? But, you know, for a lot of parents of these youngsters, it becomes a reality. When they see it and they see how organized everything is and the competition, they're like, this is no different than, you know, him playing football. And I'm talking about football with the white ball that you put on the ground. I'm not talking about American football. It's no different. Of course, from where he's from, it's more like rugby. Rugby's the big sport over there for racers.
There you go. I mean, and it is. You get to come to these great events. You get to chill out in exotic places in the world. And then also you get to take a talent that you have and a skill that you've developed with your friends. You know, you all meet up and you compete at these competitions. Racers, great job from him in qualifying. Absolutely knocking it out.
Yeah.
I think he got bullied there, though. There's a few ruffians out there with a bit more experience than him. And he'll be up there. You know, he's a star of the future, 100%. But he's got to get a bit of salt first.
Well, let's go down to Brian, who's got more on the adjudication process.
Yeah, you guys, we're standing by with Evan Thorogood from Gfinity, also known as Raceboy 77. We saw that I guess you'd call it an event in the last race with Box. You guys have been looking at it in the adjudication room. What's the decision?
Yeah, exactly. So Box ended up hitting the wall and clipping the inside, which shot him out. So ultimately, there was nothing he could really do about it. So no penalties. It was an incident. It happens. Stuff happens in racing, so no penalties.
This is one of those instances where it was an accident by the driver, and it unfortunately took some people out, not necessarily resulting in a penalty.
Exactly,
okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, there you go, guys. A pure accident. No penalties yet, but we'll be back if more events occur in future races.
All right, Brian, thank you so much. It's good to see Raceboy out there. That's when I'm streaming at home and I'm pulling up a tune, I'm like, just type in Raceboy 77 because it might not be the best, but you're going to have a pretty darn good one.
Yeah, div grip all. So he's going to pick up a div grip all for any car. He's such a great person to have in the community, and it's so cool that he's out here adjudicating all the drivers, making sure that they stay clean.
Well, let's take a look at those poll results because that's going to decide what we're driving in and where we're going. And goodness, we are heading to Road Atlanta. It's going to be the Ford 66. That GT, it's got a pretty sweet sound as well.
It's a beautiful car and a beautiful track. You guys voted wisely. Big round of applause.
I had already in my book of magic tracks, I had turned, you know, to VIR. I was ready to go. I was ready to go around the oak tree, go through the hog pen.
You set your tent up. You had it all set up trackside.
That's right. I had some Bubba burgers on the grill. I was ready to go. But, you know, Road Atlanta, you know, it's an interesting track as well. There's some undulation. I talked about how I love the undulation on VIR, but Road Atlanta is the same way. It's all about getting very fast through turns 6 and 7 to set you up on the backside of the track.
Yeah, it's all about flow. It's all about carving the track, guiding that car away from the outside, clip the apex straight through, carry momentum up and down the place. You know, I mean, I can say those little bits, but I hope we'll hear from Meredith in a bit. And yeah, you know, because
he's the deep diver.
He's the deep diver.
I talked about it. I usually call it the nerd cave. I got to come up with some motorsports term.
Yeah,
that gets in the nerd pit. Nerd pit, is that something? Can I put that out there?
I just want like a little tape of him describing tracks to fall asleep to. Just
that could be some down to DLC content out there. The Mellish track sleep, but. Is there any advantage here? When you talked about the track and the cars, is it just going to be another Lage runaway?
So Lage likes a car with understeer, what the Americans call push.
Yeah.
It's a car that's going to slide in the front before it slides on the rear. The Ford, it'll give you a bit of both. It's mid-engine, so it might give you a little bit of a twitch from the rear, and every little twitch from the rear, that plays into Lightning's hands and Roadrunner's hands. Those two guys like a car that's going to swing around a little bit, pivot on its front end.
Well, he's going to be on the pole. That we do know. And I think Chris has sort of set himself up maybe in a good position here.
T1 on the inside down towards first turn.
Yeah.
Chris he's got to make a move. Because if you don't break Lage's momentum straight off, we know what he can do. We've seen it so many times. He can run and hide. He's so fast. He's so fast, too fast
You're
to
talking
catch.
about that turn 1 at Atlanta where you want to be wide to the left, but can he, you know, you got those 8 brake markers. Are you going to break at 5 or are you going to break at 2? In my opinion, if you don't make that move on that first turn, if you don't break late at the second brake marker, Lage is just going to go right around, and the next thing you know, he's up the S's and gone.
Yeah, you're too right. This has to be aggressive. It has to be clinical. Chris has to make this stick in one go and back Lage into the pack of drivers behind who are all very, very willing to throw a move on him.
Well, we've seen it time and time again. He just gets on that pole position, he's gone. Now, the good news is, in race 3, if you weren't here for the top of the program, we're going to do reverse grid. So, you know, actually Box and Harmonic would have been, like, leading us if we were doing a reverse grid in number 2. But I think is that any sort of strategy? If you know you're in the, let's say, the 7, 8, 9th position, you know you can't really push up for that, you know, a podium spot. Do you fall back and hope that maybe in that race 3 that you can start at the top?
I mean, that kind of talk says to me, like, you know, these races are like cogent, cognitive beings, right? And I mean, yeah, to an extent, maybe there's an advantage at the beginning of the next race. Mm-hmm. But I think it's not weighing up that's going to stop them doing it. It's just that they don't have an off switch. They're just 100% push all day long. And I think they'll just fight to the end of the race. They'll fight for every position they can get. So that's definitely what I expect to see. I don't expect to see them backing off and taking extra positions.
Well, let's take a look at this poll one more time, just for the folks that might have missed it. This is actually race 3, car and track combination. So race 2 is closed. Race 3 is open. Right now it's neck and neck. Do you want to see the Aston Martin out on Road America or the Audi? Please vote for the Audi on Laguna Seca, because that car is absolutely bananas.
That is mental. I can't. You know what, Scott? I'd love to disagree with you, make some drama right here,
yeah,
but that's just a great combination.
They tell you to disagree with me.
Yeah, but that is just straight up a good combination. If you guys head on over to watch.forzarc.com, that's the place to put your votes in. Yeah, I want to see that Audi, though. I want to see that the Quattro out there on Laguna, because that's a once-in-a-lifetime kind of a crazy ordeal.
So we're still waiting for the official results so we can set the grid for race 2. There's nothing I saw out of Lage. I mean, it was not only a fast laps, but they were clean as well.
Yeah. that was vintage Lage. That was 2016 Lage that we saw there. Run and hide. Get your gap at the start, first few corners, few hundred feet, far enough to avoid a dive bomb from second place, and then just keep pounding in those fast laps. Make it impossible for anybody to catch you. And I mean, that's what he did, and he does it like nobody else.
Well, his team is no longer. He's now really riding under a new flag, so to speak. Is that some extra pressure for a guy like Lage?
Yeah, and that's like totally the story that I was expecting to see here. Like, because joining G2, it's a huge amount of pressure. It's a very big esports team, and I was expecting to see a little bit of nerves, but I think he's just zoomed in. He's got his game face on. When we saw him in the hotel, like you said earlier, he woke up ready to win this, and now he wants to bring it home.
Well, he looked pretty good in race number 1, as I mentioned, running away and hiding. But now that you've seen race 1 under our belt, still waiting for the results, who out there are you starting to think? Here the final results come in. Lage on top, Chris, Roadrunner, Lightning Force 1 Racers. And then down at the bottom, it's Hard BR, Harmonic, and Box after that collision in race number 1.
Big credit right here to that 9th place sitter, fastest driver in China, Chic Pizza. He's doing a great job there to beat the Brazilian Hard BR, Harmonic, and Box, as you say. Racers up there, but he's been beaten by Force 1. Those two are good buddies. I wonder if I wonder how he's feeling about that.
I want to see those two guys neck and neck on the final turn to see what really happens. Well, we're ready for race number 2. We're ready for the cars and the tracks, and that means we're going to invite Mellish back in once again. Mellish, what can you tell us about this car at Road Atlanta?
Well, it's one of my favorites, personal favorites. It's got beautiful handling abilities, but it's got that little bit of turbo lag. So, if you're keeping it in that rev range, it's gonna break traction, and that's gonna be difficult, especially here at Road Atlanta. This car is beautiful, but you've got to be able to throttle response in this car. Coast it into 6 and 7, which you were talking about earlier on. The last chicane, though, is going to be the decider, and they're definitely not going to go too wide into the last corner because someone is going to give that big tire wall a big hug.
Yeah, what can you tell us more about Road Atlanta and this car specifically out on the track? And you saw race 1, some of the strengths and weaknesses of those guys. How is Road Atlanta going to play into the favor of a player like Lage or Roadrunner?
Well, it's going to be very difficult. I mean, the track itself is very uneven. The tarmac is very uneven, but it's all about maintaining that speed. The guy that's on the inside starting off the grid is going to have that advantage to be able to oust that guy out onto the outside. Can't run him onto the grass, obviously, but they can kind of position themselves to make sure they don't hit that tire wall going down through the S's, turn 2, turn 3, and make sure they get that corner exit speed out onto turn 4 because that is going to be one of the best overtaking possibilities.
Yeah, that turn 4 could be the key to this race. Appreciate that, Mellish. We'll be checking in with you as we move throughout the races because he's talking about when you're moving through that turn 4 and then you can power your way up through the S's, that's really sort of a make or break part of the track.
It definitely is. Me and Mellish were sat up there in the Players' Lounge just last night with John Hindhaugh, who's going to be, he's going to
be calling some races today.
Legendary commentator, and he was teaching Mellish some new lines just through that little section, 4 and 5. Just to tuck into the left, following the curbs around. That was some interesting stuff. Very smooth places there. And it makes a huge amount of difference. If you hook turn 5 up here, if you compress through it, hitting the straight beyond, there's a lot of time, a lot of speed to be gained there. It's also a great overtaking possibility into turn number 6.
By the way, I don't know if you caught it, but Mellish basically was telling Road Atlanta on our broadcast, you might want to think about resurfacing. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
It's been 2007 since they've laid down some new surface at Road Atlanta.
It adds character, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You can apply a bit of pressure like that. I mean, I love, for example, the new Watkins Glen. Beautiful, smooth tarmac flowing throughout it. But here, Road Atlanta, I like the crunchiness. I like the feeling that you might be spitting bits of tarmac off the back of your tires when you put the power down.
Of course, compared to Sebring, that was on an old Air Force base, it makes Road Atlanta seem like you're on the smoothest track ever.
Yeah, exactly. This is luxury. For these drivers coming from Sebring to Road Atlanta, they're going to be celebrating the smoothness of this asphalt, especially through turn 1, where the car just feels so good when you lock it in, power up the hill towards the S's. That's a beautiful part of track.
Of course, our drivers are getting ready to go on Road Atlanta. Let's take a look at the backside of the track. I want to talk about turn 10, the chicane. That's 10A, 10B. What's your strategy when you go into that? Because there's several different lines that you can take through that chicane.
There are. For me, I leave space on the exit to the first part of the chicane, the left-hander, and I take it when I come through the right-hander to give me extra run up that hill. That's what I go for. I see other people, though, and they'll push through the first left-hander, and that's where you can make an overtaking move. You can carry a little bit more speed there, and if you can block it out, if you can hold someone back on the right, you've made a good move. Honestly, though, I was practicing this track with Mellish, actually, yesterday, trying to break into that chicane. I can brake at the same point as Mellish, and my car goes off into the distance. And he's braking, he's getting the thing stopped and turned in. I don't know how they do it.
It's going to be interesting to see the move through that chicane at turn 10. Let's take a look at the grid for race number 2, Road Atlanta. We've started in Florida, now we're going just up into the state of Georgia. And there is the grid for race 2. Lage, Chris, Roadrunner out in front. Lightning jumped from 7th to 4th. That should help him out here in race number 2.
Yeah, Lightning now wants to make an impact, doesn't he? He needs to climb up this table fast, start challenging Lage if he wants to win this competition. Behind those, Chic Pizza as well. Decent result in the previous race. If he can carry that momentum forwards, it's going to be an interesting one to watch.
Yeah, I think if you're Knee and Chic Pizza, of course, Knee the fastest guy in Australia. Chic Pizza the fastest guy in China. First time to America. Really not affected by the bright lights. I thought he might have a poor finish to race number 1, but he was able to get around that altercation between Harmonic and Box. It really put himself in a nice position.
Yeah, he's such a chill guy. He's just like, he just takes it all in his stride, just able to perform under any circumstances. So right here, doing a fantastic job to be right. Well, moving forward through the pack. Let's put it that way. He's not at the pointy end just yet.
Well, let's get down to the track. Road Atlanta. And we are ready to go on Road Atlanta. 2.5 miles. That's 4 kilometers over in your crazy part of the world. 12 turns. I always say 17 makes the perfect track, but we'll have to go with 12 here at Road Atlanta. And it's going to be a wild turn 1. That might be the difference between will Lage run away or will someone compete?
Look at Box's body language. Look at that, just flopped back on his chair. The guy needs to splash some cold water on that face and get moving again. You need to take it in your stride. Otherwise, you're never going to find your way back up through that pack. But yeah, Lage, who can stop him here at the Forza Racing Championship?
You hear those engines revving. This track opened in 1970. They added that chicane, that turn 10 and A and B in 1996 to bring it up to FIA standards. Let's see what our Forza drivers can do with it. As off the start, there is Lightning, Roadrunner. You can see that 3 and 4, and there they go into turn 1. We thought that might be an opportunity for Chris, but Lage shuts the door.
He shuts the door in turn 1. That's super important for the Frenchman. He needed to hold that position there, and now he's got a few corners with Chris without a chance to overtake. We're on board 4th place, Lightning, who's not managed to make up any positions just yet. But I've got the feeling that this car is going to suit Roadrunner and Lightning maybe a little bit more than they suit this guy, G2 Lage.
There's Lage moving into turn 6. This combination of 6 and 7 is so key, as that sets you up for that back side of the track. That's really, there's a few little straights in there. There's a straight between 5 and 6, 7 and 10, and then, of course, when you come back across the start-finish line.
Yeah, and Roadrunner's had enough. He wants to get past in the straight, start threatening Lage himself. He's not a patient guy, Roadrunner. You know, he's a champion. He knows he can win this, but I think he's going to start to feel bottled up by Chris, and he start to get frustrated seeing Lage able to run away like that in front.
There's that chicane. We talked about how important it is, but you can see just the difference between what Lage does is the little dip going into turn 12. Lage pretty much dominated that first time through the chicane.
He did, and you know, how important was that? Was that, in a way, the end of the race at T1? You know, Chris needed to make that move, to get stuck in there, and now he's dropping back. Now he's being caught up with Roadrunner. These two, the whole time they're battling, the whole time Kriz is blocking, the whole time Roadrunner's attacking, it's going to mean they're offline, they're not taking the perfect route through these corners, and they're slipping back, all importantly, from race leader G2 Lage.
Number 66 for GT, 11 times around the circuit is what we're going to do.
That's the move. Hairpin on the way in through the second lap, and Roadrunner's found his way up to second position. It's a long old run up that straight, though. Does Kriz have a run? Does he have an answer for it?
So Lage out in front, Roadrunner's moved into second. Kriz and Force One, that's the first four. You see Lightning and Rozzy rounding out 5 and 6 with Racers trailing behind in 7th. And we got some contact once again through 10. We're like Force One and maybe Kriz.
That Force One just forcing the issue. Racers now trying to sneak past Lightning as well.
Nice move by Rossi. Got caught up in the wall. That curve runs out short on 12. You can't really stay on that outside too long as they go across the start-finish line. That's going to cost them.
That is Rossi there, just getting a little bit too aggressive through the last corner, trying to power down too early. He's caught himself out there, tumbling back through the order. Roadrunner, though, all important, he's made that move, and you can see the gap already. GTZ Kriz tumbling back from the reigning champion as he sets off down the road to challenge that rival G2 Lage. So Kriz starting to slip back now.
Well, let's go over to Mellish. Rossi making some moves.
Yeah, man, that was unbelievable there. Rossi just like scraping the tire wall, manages to recover. It's a redemption race for him. He's not out of it at the moment. He's climbing back on the back of Racers. Lightning's just out in front as well, but no damage. And that's the important thing as in the early stages of this race.
Appreciate it. Mellish dropped all the way back to 7th now. See Harmonic in 10th, Knee in 11th. Really the battle right now is between 3 and 4 as Lage well out in front. Roadrunner's got some space, but GT Kriz trying to hold off Force One.
Oh, he's out of it. Kriz, massive crash there. Final corner catches the barrier just where Rossi did on the previous lap, and that car is destroyed. You can see he's got no engine power at all. Kriz, that face implacable. What do you think, Scott? That was unbelievable.
Just pushing it too hard through the corner. You want to use every part of this track. It's a short track, fast track, and Kriz is just going to have to pull off to the side. That's going to be a Dairy Queen.
Every single time throughout this whole race, he has seemed on his back foot. Slipping that down the order, pushing too hard, and now he's collected that final barrier. Yeah, I mean, he can't run that car. It's not going to start up anymore. Full engine damage. Forget about it. Kriz is out.
So now we are down to 11 drivers. Let's check back in with Mellish. Racer's looking pretty good, but he's all the way down to 10.
Yeah, man, that was unbelievable there. It also caught F4H Racers. Again, a domino effect. He is losing ground all the time because you see that MGC Chick Pizza make his way through into the top 10. But Racers, you know, it's end of a chapter. It's not the end of his whole, you know, his whole racing. But right now, he is really struggling.
Trying to move into the chicane here at 10. Appreciate that, Mellish. That's what we can't look at everything. That's why it's so nice to have an extra set of eyes.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You know, the great insight there from Mellish. Racers, after such a great qualifying, he's been slipping back down the order race on race, and now midway through race 2, he's found himself collected by an incident, not his own fault at all. Absolutely unable to avoid that. So THR Knee here, following along with the young Australian as he goes through that top sector of the track.
Let's go back down to Mellish. Mellish, we got a pit.
Yeah, man, my eyes are clearly not enough. I just missed TX3 Hard VR also going into the pits. He must have been collected in that, but they are making pit stop. And this is really interesting because it's a sprint format, but they think that, you know, they need to get out there and get that race pace back and gain those crucial points, no matter how little they may be.
So with Kriz not finishing this race after a second place finish in race number 1, this is going to open the standings wide.
And we talked about that, where he can finish in the top 3 time and time again, but then he'll just have a race like this where he absolutely bombs out and ends up with a big fat donut.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And it's that same thing again. It's just like box. You know, it's like when it happens all these times, you got to start looking at something you're doing, you know? It's not bad luck anymore.
Well, how about the man from Australia down under knee has moved himself all the way into 6th place. As you can see, Force 1 there. He's the guy closest to your screen. He's running in 3rd right now. Lage, Roadrunner, Force 1. You can see Box, after that poor race 1, has now found himself in 5th position, trailing Rossi right now.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Box starting to come back, and that's so great to see, you know. But what can he do after such a bad finish in race number 1? I want to mention as well, Force 1. This guy has snuck forward through the order, through race 1, qualifying better for race number 2, and now he's up on the podium.
Well, what the heck is going on, Mellish, with Lightning? He's running all the way back in 9th place.
Yeah, this is not good. He didn't have a great race out in at Sebring. He's having a terrible time here. He has got front left brake and suspension damage and body damage. He's not been able to handle the car perfectly, and he is also losing position. But this is interesting. He is not pitting right now. He is not pitting, and there's only half the race to go.
So we'll see how that affects Lightning the rest of the way. Lap 6 of 11 as they come down to that very important turn 10 chicane. You see the damage.
Yeah, it's a struggle with a car, the broken front end like that. You're just not going to get the grip you need to hold it flat through turns like this final corner. Lightning just sacrificing speed all the time, but you just lose seconds if you go into the pits. So you might as well push through just for another 4 laps. We're back here with Box as he chases down Rossi. These two are going to be scrapping, I think, by the end of this race.
Out of turn 4, up into the S's, headed down into turn 6. As you can see, Rossi leaning forward. We talked about that. Will he gain some sort of competitive edge? Will he stop being Mr. Nice Guy? It's fine to be the nicest guy in the world off the track, but once the rubber hits the road, you got to bear it down and take what's yours.
It might be too little too late for Rossi. You know, he's come here with a new attitude. He wants to be more aggressive, but up the road from him is the next generation of Forza driver. That's Force 1 sitting in 3rd place, and that guy applying pace so accurately, so consistently that he's able to gap JSR Rossi. For a lot of the guys in the community, they'll know just how hard that is.
Saw Force 1 get a little bit off the curb there, powering up through turn 11, going that downhill into the dip of 12. And now we're all of a sudden on lap 8. Where has the time gone here at Road Atlanta? Fast track, 2.5 miles, 12 turns, and Lage is dominating each and every one of them.
Surprised to see we haven't seen anyone knacker it into that turn 2 barrier yet. Everyone driving quite well behaved. I guess they listened hard when the marshals were talking to him.
And we were talking earlier, you thought that would be a problem when in between turn 2 and turn 3, as you're setting up turn 4 before you know going through these S's. You thought that would be an issue with the wall. These guys have managed to stay away from it.
It's credit to the drivers out there, you know, be able to push that hard and avoid those kinds of accidents. There's usually one, not this time around. G2 Lage leads the way though, and it's been a beautiful drive from him once again. You know, he's getting it just the way he wants it. You know, we can say the other guys aren't challenging hard enough, they're not throwing a move on there, but it's Lage's practice, the fact that he's been putting in the practice, getting the lap times down, and he's able to deliver them consistently now on tournament day. That's really to blame here, or that's what the credit we should give. Yeah, so a great performance from Lage.
And we talked about that GT Chris needed to overtake him on that first turn. And once you didn't have that, then you had to start to be more and more aggressive, pushing more and more speed into turn 12. That's what's really been the carnage corner of this track. You got to watch that dip. You're trying to go as wide as you can so you can go across the start-finish line. But you get into that wall like Rossi and Chris did, it could be a long afternoon.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And we've seen it happen a few times. The cars bottom out there sometimes. I don't know about the Ford. You have seen cars bottoming out on that last corner. You can get a massive loss of grip very suddenly if that happens. Rossi listening very closely to his Protronics there.
Comfortable in their play seats. Listening through those Plantronic headsets. You can bet I'm going to be eating a Bubba Burger later on. That's not a challenge. That's just a fact. Lap 9 of 11 as we move through the chicane here on Road Atlanta. Lage well out in front. Can force one, hold off Rossi, hold off Box, who's had a better race too after the disappointing collision in race 1. There's that dip, just that little dip coming out of 12. Let's go to Mellish once again. How are these guys running as far as lap times?
Man, they're all within tenths of each other. It's really surprising here. Lage is just ruling from the roof here. He's just gone, like into the sunset. But to be honest, the lap times are split by 2/10. Roadrunner's only running a 0.7. Lage is running a 0.5. There's nothing in it apart from the consistency of these drivers. So kudos to Lage.
Lage with that brand new G2 tag. He's got AMS Roadrunner right behind him. And can't say enough about Force One. Of course, riding along with F4H. He's got his buddy as well, Racers here with him, but all along, we knew Force One was probably the stronger driver at this point over his buddy Racers, who's all the way back in 11.
You know, Forza 1 finished Season 3 in 12th position. That's making the final, not quite shining in the final. Racers, he was the top finisher who didn't make it into the final, so he finished 13th. There's only ever been 1 point separating these two guys. They've been so close to each other. Good friends, Force One and Racers. The Force One with all the luck here, or all the talent, maybe we should say, at the Pre-season Invitational, able to get up to 3rd position. He's having a big old Barney now with Rossi, though, who's been closing him up for a few laps.
White flag is out, the final lap, lap 11 here on Road Atlanta, and there's the traffic between 3, 4, and 5. Force One, Rossi, and Box.
Yeah, Box wants that podium. He wants a sneaky one on the last lap. Rossi started to threaten a little bit to come down towards turn 5, and this might just happen.
It's going to be interesting, the combo of turn 6 and 7. Racing all the way down. I mean, they call 8 and 9. 8 and 9 is just, you know, you swing to the right, swing to the left. But it's going to come down to the chicane as they come out of turn 7 and head down the backside of this track here on the final lap.
Yeah, squeezing all that 530 horsepower through the rear wheels onto the track. Trying to get a little bit of a run on each other. Let's find out. It's like one little chicane to go. And Lage just has to hold on. Touches the grass there.
Yeah, uncharacteristic. But knows when you got that big of a lead that, all right, you can take it a little easy through turn 10. Over 11, the crest. The dip of 12. And Lage unofficially will take race number 2.
He's a beast. There's no stopping him. Look at that. A little bit of scratch on the head. Nothing too big just yet. He's just trying to control his emotions. Keep doing what he does best. And then pick up the prizes at the end.
I don't want to overshadow because Roadrunner actually had a pretty good race out here because he had so much distance between. I mean, Lage was well out in front. He had some distance, too, over Force One at 3rd there. So we'll get the provisional results. It looked like Force One finished 3rd. He had Box in there trying to mix things up at the very last lap. But Force One doing a nice job really holding on to that position.
Yeah, picking up that last step on the podium. He's been working his way up steadily. GTZ Chris, you can see over his shoulder there, still parked up on that pit lane wall. He couldn't get that car started again. So unlucky for Chris, very unlucky for Lightning. I think that's killed his chances of a victory here at the Pre-season Invitational, unless a real miracle happens for him.
Great recovery in that race by Rossi, who came out of turn 12, going across the start-finish line, clipped a little bit of the wall, but able to recover and come up with, unofficially, a 4th place finish. Not bad when you graze a little bit of the wall.
Yeah, you know, Rossi starting to get more comfortable maybe, but, you know, he needs to be delivering better results than that. He needs to be on the podium. And he had a chance there. He had a chance in the last lap to get past Force One, just could not deliver it. I mean, he needs that, though. And that's the aggression we're talking about. He needs to be in there, fighting, putting his nose in, pushing him a little bit, shove his way past. You know, he cannot afford to sit back and wait for Force One to give him that kind of a chance.
Well, it's time for my hometown sponsorship. A little company called Michelin out of Greenville, South Carolina. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but it's time for the Michelin moment as Lightning was out there making some moves, had some damage, though.
Yeah, Lightning, despite knackering the front end of that Ford GTLM, still managing to make some moves. Here he is, getting the power down onto that back straight with JSR Rossi sniffing all over him. Such a tricky place to put the power down. I think Rossi's going to make a move here, actually. This is the lap where Rossi throws one on at the chicane.
When you're coming down the backside after coming out of 7, here comes that turn 10A and B.
Ooh. I must have missed that the first time out. That was a massive dive bomb from Lightning. Way too optimistic. Gets punished on the corner exit, and Rossi sneaking through for the last corner. Nice move there from Rossi, who just about clips the barrier and loses it all again. What can you do?
Yeah, you fight the whole first 3 laps, try to get the opportunity to pass Lightning, and then you lose a tremendous amount of speed coming across the start-finish line. That was early in the race. We still had GT Chris still out there running, but he ends up with the DNF, not finishing here at Road Atlanta.
That is just it's an awful feeling, because you sit there, your engine's destroyed, and it's like, surely there's something I can do now. Surely there's a course of action to follow, and I can get myself somehow back into this race. But when the engine has 100% damage, you're going to be going at 5 miles an hour tops if you press the accelerator, and that's just dangerous for everyone else on track. The marshals would have DQ'd him. All he could do was pull to the side, say, all right, hands in the air, it's over.
So that's a bit of the gentlemanly side of it is, hey, when your race day is over, pull over. The good news is he's still got 2 more opportunities. Race 3 coming up. That's going to be a reverse grid, so he's actually, right, he's going to be at the pole.
You're too right. Yeah, there's a sunny side. There's always a silver lining. Nice one. Yeah, good. Good.
I'm sorry, your day is over.
Life coach Scott Cole here.
But we're going to give you a ribbon. Yeah, first place for the next race. That's where you're going to start.
Yeah, he gets to start first. And GTZ Chris, we know he's got fantastic pace. We've seen him out there, already second place in race number 1 from pole position with Lage all the way back at the rear of the pack. Maybe he's got this in the bag.
A really impressive race for Force One. The youngster, he's a guy that does karting, IRL, offline karting. So racing is really in Force One's blood.
It is. It is. He's a racer through and through, and you can see that when he talks about racing. You can see it by the way he drives. Super aggressive, doesn't give anything. He'll throw the move on if he needs to, but also, what an opportunist drive from Force One here. Able to sneak through all those positions almost unseen, and then we were kind of rubbing our eyes going, hold on, he's in 3rd. That's the kind of opportunism that you see from a great driver.
Well, let's look again. Let's take one more peek at what happened to Chris here as he making very aggressive, high-speed moves coming off of the crest of 11 down into the dip of 12.
We go watch for it. The car is going to under-rotate on the curb there. There's nothing he can do. Touches the brake to try and get the thing to steer, but it's all over and ended a couple of other races with him there. Lightning being amongst them.
That's the time where you got to pick up the phone. You got to call somebody. Hey, man, I've done a bad thing. Yeah. Can you come out and help me?
Can you pick me up? I'm in Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm in road Atlanta.
Yeah. Can you come, I need a lift home.
Can you come get me? Let's take a look at those provisional results after race number 2. There you see Lage out in front. Surprise, surprise. Roadrunner, though, with a nice stance. Couldn't catch Lage, but had plenty of space in front of Force One, Rossi, and Box. But how about the Australian? Knee all the way up in 6th place, steady as it goes.
Steady as he goes. It's that calmness, that unfazed attitude that he's bringing here. That common sense at the end of the day, that seeing him sneaking up positions, race on race. Of course, we're going to twist everything over on its head right now. So Nee might not be thanking himself for sneaking up to 6th position.
How about Cheek Pizza running in 8th place? It's the guy that we thought would be in the bottom 3 the majority of the day, but it's had back-to-back good showings.
Chic Pizza here has been ready to pick up the pieces from other people's mistakes every single time. He's not able maybe to fight for the front of the pack, right at the top. But he is able to take positions when people make mistakes. And that's what he's doing. That's what he's been, it's his bread and butter here at the ForzaRC, doing a great job with it. What was that, 8th position just now?
Yeah, running in 8th, Knee in 6th, Chic Pizza in 8th. So they're in the middle of the pack in these next 2 races that they could have the opportunity that if they could somehow work their way to the front, they could actually score some nice points. We had the opportunity to hang out with Chic Pizza, and let us give you a little introduction to the man they call Chic Pizza.
My name is Ma Xuan, and I am a Forza driver. 这是我的大学，我学的专业是摄影。我平时喜欢拍风光、建筑还有人像。大学所学的专业也是我自己的爱好。我平常没事的时候就喜欢到毛泽东乡这里来拍拍照，因为毛泽东是出生自湖南，也是中国历史性上一大伟人。这是中国湖南长沙我住的地方。欢迎来到我家。这就是我训练即兴竞速的地方。我参与 Forza 是2016年在上海 China Joy 上面，一个线下比赛吧，然后就为了是跟线上的好友一起顺便见个面，然后再交流一下经验。在家人当初是有点反对的，直到我在比赛中获得了名次嘛，在上海。
我儿子在电竞的比赛中获得冠军，我非常为他感到骄傲。
这是我最喜欢的街，这是坡子街，这里小吃很多，然后也比较适合我们这些年轻人过来玩吧，休息。
是属于圈内小有名气的人物吧，也是经常去上海那边参加比赛之类，获得过名次的，是吧？小有名气。
在玩电游的时候，脑海中想的可能就是要拿个第一吧，然后也不是对什么事情都争强好胜，对自己喜欢的事情能够做到的事情，肯定要做到最好。我一直所坚持玩这个电竞，主要是一个是和朋友多认识和交流。比赛我最享受的还是比赛的过程，因为比赛是会让人热血澎湃吧，那种感觉是只有比赛才能有的。在电竞这一块，我认为我自己的缺点可能是比较心急，不管是电竞也好，做其他事情也好，都会比较急于把这个事情赶快做好吧，然后从而才会出现一些差错。我很喜欢乒乓球运动，在中国是每一个人都会打的。我平常在学校也经常跟同学一起打。
我儿子参加这个竞技比赛，如果取得好成绩，他继续想发展呢，我们就大力支持他。
只要是他的爱好，如果是这个爱好的话，我们还是会支持他。在电竞中获胜，对我来说获得的是一个冠军的头衔吧，然后也证明了自己的努力没有白费，付出的努力获得了回报，收到了回报。
Undoubtedly, one of the coolest stories that we have here this weekend is that of Chic Pizza. He is here all the way from China, 19-year-old student, first time in America, and I've got so many questions. I have somebody here to help me translate, which is really cool. But first of all, how does it feel to be a household name in a country and nearly 1.5 billion people?
首先，这款 Forza 这款游戏在国内还不算是广为人知的。我算是在中国比较先行玩这款游戏的第一批人吧。
So first of all, this Forza, this game is not that famous in China. I'm like one of the pioneers who started playing this game. So,
wow, how do you feel about how you're doing so far today?
现在的状态还不是我最理想的，我不太满意。
So for the performance so far, it's not ideal. I'm not really happy with this.
Do you need to be more aggressive?
在这比赛的话，我会选择更激进一点，我会拿出我最好的实力吧。
Yes, I think I will be more aggressive and to show my real skills.
I love this. Well, amazing. Chu Ni Hao Ji. How did I do? I tried to say good luck, so.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. This is great chatting with you. You guys, we have got to figure out what the results from that second race were. Back to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Shannon. Dude, I'll be honest with you. He's a pioneer for a country in a game. That's just unbelievable what not only this game can do to bring folks together, but for him to say, hey, I'm going to break away from the mold. I'm going to start the trend for this game, all the way around the other side of the world.
Yeah, and what a great story, winning the ForzaRC China Joy competition out there, coming out here to fight, against the best in the world, and you can hear him. He's going to be more aggressive in the upcoming race.
Big shout out to his buddy Jay Rich back in China. I'm hopefully having the opportunity to tune in and seeing how his buddy doing. I know he's disappointed, but he's had two pretty decent back-to-back races. Let's take a look at the results here of race number 2. It's got Lage, Roadrunner, Force 1. Those are your official top 3. Rossi, Box doing a nice job bouncing back, but there is Knee Harmonic and our main man, Cheek Pizza, in 8th place.
Yep, 2 right. Chic Pizza down there in 8th. It's not the perfect place to be coming into the next race.
No.
You got to say, Chris has got the front row seat right now.
Yeah, because of the reverse grid. If you're just joining us, this is the first time ever we're doing a reverse grid.
Yeah.
They did a pre-qualification for race 1. Race 2 was decided on the race 1 finish. But now, for the first time ever, we're going to have the reverse grid. And Chris is going to have an opportunity to lead the pack.
Yeah, inverting that order, and in general, it means that the slower guys are up there at the front, and it's about defending, driving, that kind of stuff. This time around, with Chris's bad luck, it's putting a very, very fast guy in a very good position.
By the way, if you are out there at home and you want to sign up, you can go to ForzaRC.com. You can be racing with our guys back here on a weekly basis. It's going to be an amazing season. Of course, if you're watching on one of our tremendous platforms, you can also watch over at watch.forzarc.com. I don't know the track and car information because that's why we got Mellish involved. Mellish, how did we work out in the polling?
I think we're going to the IMSA, we're going to Laguna Seca, sorry.
Laguna Seca, yes.
Which is,
we finally,
it's just one of the greatest tracks you can go to. And we're going to be racing at the Audi Quattro, so it's going to be the old Trans Am style, 4-wheel drive, massive, massive turbo lag. But luckily, Laguna Seca is all about the twists and turns. But it's not that bad. They're tight. They're not that tight corners, man. These guys are going to be able to use the dirt, use the curb, and remain relatively clean as well as they make their way through the track. Obviously, they've got to they've got to basically enter the famous corkscrew. That's going to be a different story. There's kind of 2 races within a race. It's going to be the corkscrew and who gets through there, and the rest of the track, in a sense. So I can't wait to see how that pans out. But like you say, though, Chip Pizza's going to be in 4th.
What can you tell us about this car here? We got 711 horsepower.
Oh, man, it's such a powerful track. It's such a powerful car, sorry. The guys are going to have to be in that turbo lag. You're going to have to be able to shift the gears properly at the top of the rev range. If you don't, you're going to bog down. With or without traction control, it's not going to be that simple for them. But then again, if you're at the top, you're going to get that transmission damage if you don't gear properly.
Well, without further ado, let's get out to California, Mazda's Laguna Seca track.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. This is such a cool combination. I'm so glad they got both through.
Yeah.
The car is it's just silly. Like, it's just there's no part of, yeah, it's like just been made by people who just want to crash all the time, I guess. It's so difficult to drive. It's so fast, so powerful, and it offers so much grip. Yeah, I have no way of calling this. Let's find out what happens.
Let's head down to race 3 right now. There's the... All right, Laguna Seca, it's going to be the full circuit in the 1989. What year were you born?
87.
87. So you were 2 years old when this Audi was out on the track. This Quattro, all-wheel drive, 711 horsepower, and you talk about a track that's got some undulation. Laguna Seca and that corkscrew will test any driver's limits. I don't care how good you are.
Yeah, here they go down towards the Andretti hairpin for the first time. GTZ Chris leads the way from pole with racers looking around. So these two guys both very unlucky in race number 2, managing to get away very smoothly this time. Sheik Peter a little bit wide there, and he's going to have to start defending right now from lap number 1.
Yeah, reverse grid here, so GT Chris having the opportunity after not finishing race number 2 to be out on the pole. And you got racers in hard BR. That's your 1, 2, 3. So the interesting thing about this race is going to be the move from the back of the pack to the front with Lage, Roadrunner. You can already see Lightning up and forth. And Lightning, after a poor result in his standards in race 2, might have an advantage here at Laguna Seca as he gets sideways.
Who are we on board with here? This is a bright blue livery. Is this Lage? Is that what we're looking at?
That looks like Lage's livery, as he's gotten all the way turned around on lap 1. So not only did he start all the way at the back, but he's now more than 12 seconds off the pace.
This is turning this race, this event on its head. Lage tumbling back down the order. He's currently sitting on 0 points for this race. So we've got to find out how he can do in the coming 10 laps. Still plenty of race to go, of course. Up ahead, Roadrunner, Box, Force 1, those three are fighting it out for 5th position.
Yeah, even with that stumble, there's no way he's finishing 12th. I can tell you that. That would be, I've only seen it a few times. He's even been in really below 5th place.
No, I agree completely. You know, Lage has the speed here. He's done the practice. He's got the form. He's definitely going to be up there by the end.
Now you see the youngster racers coming all the way over from across the pond as we're on board with Sheik Pizza, who's fallen back to 10th position.
Yeah, things got pretty manic there in lap number 1. Definitely that little pack that caught Lage out, that had him spinning around, may have been the undoing of Sheik Pizza as well, way back down the order now in 10th. But he has been dining out on other people's mistakes.
In your experience driving this vehicle, how close, I know it's a 1989, but how close is this to, like, you know, an all-wheel drive GTR? I mean, I know they're both all-wheel drive. I know we're talking about decades of technology in between, but just at least give me some vehicle out there that would match what this Quattro is all about.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think there's, you know, you can definitely talk about the GTR and there's similarities there. Both got turbochargers, both all-wheel drive. I would say that this is closest, though, to strapping a bottle rocket onto a skateboard. Like, I think that's about, if you want a vehicle that's close to, yeah. That's about it, because it just point and squirt, this car, and it will just fly and fly. TX3 boys getting muddled up there towards the, for 3rd place.
Now, racers out in front, making a move on GT Chris after his not finishing in race number 2. You see Roadrunner in 5th, Force 1 in 6th, Rossi in 7th. So the middle of the pack not only has a lot of talent in this reverse grid, we've been calling it for a couple seasons here. This is what you get. You get a very interesting of guys that normally finish well back at the back of the pack all of a sudden have to play very defensive up front.
Exactly, exactly. And there's some drivers out there. JSR Rossi actually is one of them. I've seen him do this before. He have just a sixth sense for overtaking. They can just part their way, carve their way through other cars, and before you know it, they're right up at the top. AMS Roadrunner doing a great job here as well. Remember, he started side by side with Lage right at the back of this pack. So he's found his way up to 5th position. That's brilliant for him. And this could be a difference maker if G2 Lage can't come back from that first lap spin.
Lap 3 of 10. It's a 2.2 mile track, 11 turns. It's all about how you go through the corkscrew, and then can you maintain that speed going through turn number 9? That's the rainy curve. That's really, in my, opinion, is the most important part of the track. As you see, getting off on the side there, there's Chris and Hard BR, and we talked about how Hard BR is very aggressive, able to make a 2-time overtake there to move it up into first.
Go on, Hard BR. Get in there, get stuck in, race your heart out.
We were talking about wild cards and dark horses last night at dinner, and you straightly went to Hard BR.
This guy, he's what's called a creep tag. Is that what you've been calling it on Madden? He changes his gamer tag every 2 months, every month, and you never know who he is. He's just that guy who's at the top of every leaderboard. Zoom, he's Shockwave, he's Impulse, and now he's Hard BR leading this race. And look at that face. That is concentration through and through. He's going to look at that face later and blush, I think.
Well, he is out in first. Racers is right behind him. You see the middle of the pack there. We keep talking about Roadrunner, Force One, and Rossi. When are they going to make some moves here on Laguna Seca? Still a long way to go.
Was that a mistake we saw just on the side of the camera for Hard BR? Losing out on the corkscrew, and Racers sneaking through to take the lead of this race. So this race coming on fire here. Still just 4 laps in, though.
We warned you.
Out by the end.
Mellish gave us the first warning. Coming out of the corkscrew, how big that's going to be. Actually losing a couple spots there, all the way back to 3 now, as Lightning had a middle of the pack finish in race number 2. He's used that to his advantage here in the reverse grid. He's all the way up to 2 now.
We are back with Lade. Speaking of people who need to come back from a disadvantage, he's only found 1 position so far, up to 11th.
Let's see if we can get our guys to just hang out with Lage. Just hang out with Lage for a minute here. As he's
you see that?
Just bullies his way into 10th place.
Have you got any idea who I am, Nee? Get out of my way.
Box gets a little squirrely. He's out wide onto the sand. And Lage
taking no prisoners, taking no prisoners.
He was 12 seconds back already at the start after that little mishap in lap number 1.
You remember the last race of season 3 where Lage knocked into Roadrunner, coming together with him, and that was frustration. That was being out of his element and making little mistakes. That's what we're seeing here as well. That knock with knee there.
You can see Lage up there, Box all over him. I could watch this all day long. A Lage and Box battle.
It's going to be absolutely on fire. I don't know what happened to Box. He looked like he lifted and let Lage through, but I can't imagine that was the case. He looks like he's a little bit frustrated there in his chair.
Lage has got enough time to be just looking around, looks over at Roadrunner like, okay, what position is Roadrunner running in? But he knows this is key points for AMS Roadrunner that he's going to get over Lage if the positioning stays true.
It is, exactly. I mean, at the top of this competition, you've got Roadrunner, you've got Chris, who's had a great result in race number 1, absolutely failed race number 2, but he's up there and fighting in this 3rd race. And you've got Lage, who's just trying to find any kind of points he can get as a reconciliation for a very, very tough reverse grid performance.
Well, Mellish has been keeping an eye on some of our drivers to watch. How the lap times looking here?
Oh, they're so impressive. They're so impressive, man. You know, the way that they're going around Laguna Seca. Racers, Roadrunner, and Lage are all putting in the same lap time together within like hundredths of a second. But the only thing is that Lage has got the upper hand here. He's at the back. He's got plenty of space to like hunt these guys down. The other 2 guys are in mid-pack. They're battling, so their lap times are going to be ultimately slower.
This track hosts the Rolex Monterey Motorsports reunion. Really a historic track that Mazda sort of put their stamp on for years.
It's an incredible place, isn't it? You know, it's so much like everywhere we've been so far. You know, Sebring, Road Atlanta. You know, we're seeing classic racing tracks here. And Laguna Seca, you know, if you don't know anything about motorsport, if you're coming into this, you're like, hey, this looks fun. This is cool what I'm seeing here. Maybe you've heard of the corkscrew. That's just this crazy corner where you turn down the hill left and push down through the gutter of a valley and then up again. This is just an unbelievable place.
Running along with Roadrunner right now. He's got a little bit of damage to that front right.
That tire going yellow. You won't feel it too badly yet. You can see this track.
You got 3 laps to go, and really with tires and fuel and all that, really this is more like a sprint style, you know, quick 15-minute races.
We won't see people damaging their tires at this level of driving. I guess you could do it in this amount of laps if you just kind of drifted the car around and
right.
did whatever. But
handbrake every turn. Sure.
Yeah, exactly. But that isn't the fastest way around in any car. And these guys will be able to keep those tires preserved, certainly. We're just looking back here to Roadrunner, who's still trying to get by the 2 TX3 drivers of Hard BR, led by Lightning.
At one point, Hard BR had the lead. He had overtaken Chris. But how about Racers? This is a guy that we knew has the talent. He's young. And he's been able to hold on right now. I mean, we're talking about a reverse grid, but how big would that be for a young guy, like a young driver and Racers, to say, you know what, I went up against some of the best drivers in the world, and although it was reverse grid, you know, I took the lead and held on.
We talked about it earlier, so much of racing at this level is about that mindset, having the ability to go into a race, sit on the grid against the world's very, very fastest drivers and say, you know what, I've got something that no one else has got. I can win this race.
We have team racing coming up. Our final 4 races of the day will be a team, and you see 2 TX3 guys. At this point, Hard BR, you got to let Lightning by. I mean, I know this is an individual moment right now, and I know if you're Hard BR, you're like, there's no way, but Lightning's like, okay, I'm just going to go by anyway.
I'm going to have that anyway. Hard BR making another mistake in the same place on that corkscrew. Whoa. He's going to be unhappy with himself. Roadrunner wants the position as well, and Hard BR is going to have to give it to him because this hairpin is not going to give him any joy. Roadrunner up the inside. I mean, yeah, it's tough to see someone kind of making the same mistake twice. You know you've done it, though, with the corkscrew. You know you broke too late because that corner just comes rushing at you and the speed isn't dropping off your car.
That's the thing, is sometimes even if you're the one being overtaken, that can make you do some uncharacteristic things out on the track. Got 2 laps to go. Let's go over to Mellish. What's going on with Roadrunner? He's starting to climb the ladder.
Yeah, obviously, you know, guys, it was the infamous reverse grid, and this, you know, Roadrunner's putting in a stellar performance here. He's actually gained 8 places in this short sprint format race here. He's into 3rd at the moment. He's currently chasing Lightning, which we all want to see right now.
So good moves by Roadrunner. And for Roadrunner, the key is he's going to want to know where Lage is. Lage started all the way in the back. He's moved up to 8. Roadrunner climbing some spots here. If he can get by Lightning, maybe he could make some moves out on Racers.
Yeah, maybe he can move forward. The races, you know, there's less laps than ever right now to do that. You know, we're coming to a close, and Racers is looking strong. He's looking consistent. He's looking composed out there on the track. I've got to say, yeah, I mean, I was right with you there, Scott. The second I heard Roadrunner come up, I thought, where is Lage? And I was looking at that top ticker. He's in 8th position right now. But that move we saw on the Australian knee, Lage knocking him off the track, I wonder if that's going to come back at the end of this race with Adjudication.
Racer's still out in front. He's got Lightning on his heels, riding along with Force 1 right now, trying to make a move on Hard BR, as Hard BR has really fallen back. He was as high as 1, had the lead there in lap number 2, but just continues to get passed time and time again. And he's got to have some sort of damage going on. Let's check in with Mellish. What's going on with Hard BR?
Yeah, Hard BR was, you know, stealing nerves of determination early on. He was challenging for the, you know, the lead of this race, but he's got minimal engine and transmission damage, and he's getting reeled in by the rest of the pack. And this is going to be so frustrating for him because he put in a stellar performance right early on in this race.
He's representing Brazil. We have 12 racers in this individual competition, representing 7 different countries. And this is the final lap. Alley, Roadrunner is in third, Lightning in second. Racers, can he hold on for his first win here this season?
It'd be a dream story, right? Racers, such an interesting proposition coming into this event. So young, so unexperienced, and yet here he is, last corner, last lap, and coming up the straight.
Yeah, coming around turn 11, and Racers will get it done. I know his family watching across the pond, very excited as they exchange some high fives. You know, his buddy, Force One, that's at the top of your screen, looking over there, giving some word of encouragement. This, my favorite part is the conversations these guys have after they run the circuit.
Yeah, right. You want to be a fly on the wall in that conversation, right? Looking at those guys just chatting it out. Racers trying to conceal some very, very happy emotions that are going through right now. He'll be all in his chest and throat. That'll be a good feeling for him. And nice to see him up there this early on in his Forza career. There's a big old year ahead of us, and who knows, maybe this guy could be up there again.
There's Harmonic. You talk about a guy that's put down a lot of laps on some tracks. Maybe you look all the way back at those MLG days that he was so dominant. But there's a new crop of drivers here in Seattle, here at the Pre-season Invitational. Of course, the season kicks off in a couple weeks. And for Lightning, really battled back in that race to get up to second place. Just could not close the gap on Racers, who really didn't have to be defensive. Once he got it back from hard BR, he was not going to relinquish that #1 spot.
Lightning has had to try so hard throughout this event. That's what's really thrown me. Like, and you can see it in his driving style. You can see him pushing, and you can see him squeezing and edging himself and trying to learn while he's out there. It's not that composure that you get from Lage, where he shows up and does his thing and kind of, it's like a recital for him. With Lightning, it's like every single corner is like, you know, reach deep, dig deep, and push through. That's not the attitude that you want to be in. He's on the back foot right now. He needs a strong, strong result in this final race.
Well, Michelins are known for their smooth ride, but here's the Michelin moment for Lage. Reverse grid, he starts all the way back at number 12, but it was lap 1, maybe pushing a bit too far. That really led to his demise. After, you know, the slow start, he pushes it just a bit too hard. Next thing you know, you're well off the pace by double digits in seconds.
Yeah, exactly right. Lage, you know, he knew he had it all to do. He was coming from the very back of this pack. And it's a pack full of the fastest drivers on Forza. So, you know, they're all aces. There's just someone standing there with, you know, 11 cards and they're all aces. You know? And Lage is trying to get past. I mean, you can see through the kink here, it's the rail straight. It's not an easy place to do that. Block up, someone locks up in front, Lage is round. It's just, it happens so easily, it happens very quickly. Not his fault, but then again, you know, it's all about placement, it's all about luck, and you didn't get it this time.
And he knows you can push yourself down into that corkscrew and have a chance to make a move early. You push it a bit too hard, next thing you know, you're spun around. Let's take a look at our provisional results that we have right now for race number 3, the reverse grid, the first ever. That will be known as the time that Lage, I think it's his worst finish ever.
Can't be much
Even
worse,
when he
can it?
stalled out that one time.
Yeah.
Never stalled out at the line. I think he finished 7th.
He's usually so able to find his way up through a pack, to recover from these back positions. I think this time he's just so used to being in the lead. He was just so used to having the race being given to him on a silver platter that the second he had to make a move, maybe he got a little bit greedy there. Because as you say, there was a wall of cars in front of him. There was nowhere through. What was he trying to do by accelerating into that?
That'll be the question that maybe we'll have an opportunity to ask him, because he's not used to being all the way at the back of the pack. But that's the magic of the reverse grid. Let's take a look at the provisionals. As you can see, Racers getting his first win. Lightning and Roadrunner made a good push. Couldn't get past the youngster. And there you see Cheek Pizza. Started at the middle of the pack, finishes at the bottom.
You know who's going to be devastated by that result, and that's Hard BR. Led the race at one point, fought his way back up to second. that double overtake for the lead, I thought that was going to be the Michelin moment because that was awesome. When I get back, I'm watching. That's the clip I'm watching. That double overtake was just incredible. So hard BR, yeah, getting the hard side of the BR there, I guess.
Well, there are the provisional results. Let's go over once again to my main man, Brian, who's standing by on the special guest.
Well, welcome back, everyone. That was an incredible race. I'm so pleased to be joined by John Heindahl, the voice of countless motorsport events over the year. It's great to have you here.
It's great to be here, and I've got to tell you, I've been sitting down the back there. I've had to be dragged away because the spectacle of what these races are providing is outstanding. Might want to stick a camera back there because the crowd reaction from the sponsors of this event, including the guys from IMSA and Bubba Burger and everyone else, it's fantastic. The U's and R's, this is real racing at its best.
And the great news is John is going to be casting a couple races for us today, including the very next race, right?
I'm really nervous about this.
Really?
This is me out of my comfort zone. This is not what I'm used to doing. The skills are all here. I'm going to have to give it a go, and I'm sure you guys will be gentle with me.
Well, we're amongst the best racers now. We've got one of the best about to get on the desk. John Heindahl coming up right after this.
Some Forza 7 before breakfast?
Let's get it.
Let's do it. Wait, what? How long? Some Forza 7 before sunrise?
Let's get it.
Bubba Burger, proud sponsor of the Forza Racing Championship.
This is Time Attack. What food do you hate the most?
Grapefruits.
Spinach?
Spinach.
Cream corn. Raw fish.
Beans.
Sushi.
Broccoli.
It's gross.
Broccoli.
Asparagus.
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 Asparagus. Asparagus.
Asparagus.
Asparagus. Okay.
What is the weirdest thing about you?
I build guitars.
I have long hair.
Maybe my shape. I mean, I'm really thin.
The fact that I'm here right now to most of my friends is very strange.
I can't tell into a camera.
Pass.
I am actually quite weird.
How are you weird?
I don't know. People tell me I'm weird. So.
I owned a pet fox once.
Where'd you get that?
I was kind of found in the wild.
In 3 words or less, what's your driving style?
Point A to point B.
That's more than 3 words.
Point A, B.
Neat, clean, and tidy.
Very aggressive.
Cautious.
Hard, smooth, and consistent.
I'm not sure.
And we'd like to welcome you guys back. We're now joined by John Heindahl. And John, I don't know how you can be nervous about this. I think we're more nervous to sit here with you at this point.
Because this is your house. Thank you for inviting me in, both of you. I've been watching out the back there, as I said with Brian, and it's an extraordinary experience out there. It's like WWF, it's like being at a racetrack, it's been like a pantomime. The audience participation out there is fantastic. I'm really psyched up about this and a bit nervous, but I think that's not a bad thing.
No, I think when you're nervous, you're excited, right?
Yeah, it's all good nerves, and that's exactly what the drivers are feeling as well. I mean, you were just in there being interviewed by Brian. What's the feeling in that room?
You can smell the concentration. You really can. I now know what concentration and focus smells like. It's extraordinary out there.
You know, sometimes when you're watching Forza, you almost get immersed, where you don't realize, like, all of a sudden, I'm watching a video game.
No, but I'm not watching the video game.
Yeah.
When I was sitting out the back just there with all of our sponsors, and I wasn't watching a video game. I was watching a race.
Yeah.
And I do that a lot. And I sat there and I watched the race. And I was oohing and ahhing and go, oh, look at the battle for fourth. Look at the battle for fourth. It was really, really immersive. And the quality of the design of the tracks, the dynamic abilities of the cars, these guys controlling them, it's extraordinary. It's absolutely extraordinary. It is like real life without being there.
Yeah, we mentioned things, and you're like, yeah, you couldn't believe that VIR had the updated, resurfacing, the extra runoff coming around Oak Tree.
Exit of Oak Tree, that green tarmac that was there when we were watching that race from there, that was put in not 1 year ago when the place was resurfaced. Absolutely fantastic.
We're still waiting on the final results for that, but how about the youngster? Have you ever seen, you see it, you call a lot of races. What about these rookies? And that's pretty much what Racers is. He's almost a rookie where he just comes on and all of a sudden he gets the advantage of the reverse grid, but someone's got to still hold on to the lead.
What I'm very impressed about is the calm way that these youngsters are going about their business, and it is business, in the tournament. They're not being psyched out by being with the big names. Sometimes you see it in real-world motorsport. Sometimes the event gets the better of some of these drivers. Clearly everybody can drive, but it's about having the big game, the big tournament mentality and moving on from there. Exactly the same as the real world.
And what does that take? What does that take to make that jump from being new kid on the block to being the established?
Well, there's a couple of things here that is actually very different from the real world, which makes it even more intense, because a lot of these guys will have been racing on their own in the past, in their own environment. Now they've been put into the lion's den of competition. And, you can see them during the race, and I was standing out there, just glancing left and right, having look, that's Lane over there. Oh my goodness, this Lane is just like one of the legends. It's like sitting next to a Tom Christensen or a Dindo Capello or a Derek Bell in our world in 24-hour endurance racing and seeing what he's doing firsthand. That must be pressure. And to be able to just take that all out, take a breath, and zone in on what you've got in front of you, I think that's what makes the difference.
I want to ask Ali a question, because a year ago we were in New York. It was like your first time doing any of this stuff. You ever thought, hey, well, of course, a year later, I'm going to be sitting next to John Heinhall, just calling some races. No big deal. No big deal, guys.
Like 99% of me right now just kind of wants to go like, John, what's your favorite color? What do you like to eat?
Stop it. Stop that right now.
Is it really cool to be here?
It is really cool to be here. It is really cool to be here and to see the hard work that's been put in by everybody to make this event happen, and just the amount of work that we've done together in the last few days, which is now all going to go to nothing because I'm going to forget everything I've been told. It's been absolutely fantastic to be part of a team, and in this Forza Championship 2018 Pre-season Invitational presented by IMSA, what I'm seeing here is exactly the sort of teamwork that we would use on IMSA radio when we go to the Bubba Burger's Sports Car Grand Prix of Long Beach, which is the next event that comes
coming up.
Just 100 minutes in a couple of weeks' time. That's going to be very similar to what we're seeing here. Much shorter race than we're used to seeing, and the guys are going to have to really concentrate and knuckle down to it. But the teamwork that's gone around all of this, putting it together, top notch.
Yeah, incredible stuff that these guys do, and I was out at Sebring last week watching some of the racing there, and you can see the way that teams come together across both of these, and it's very similar. The way people collaborate together, learn the tracks together. They talk to each other about how to find speed around here. That's just like a race team in the IMSA WeatherTech series.
And the realism of these tracks and car setups. We were you were showing me some of the tracks yesterday.
Yep.
And Mellish and I were looking at Road Atlanta, and that's a place that I have driven an MX-5 Cup car and crashed it as well. Right at the end of the session, so annoyed with myself. And some of the things that I learned then, I was taught by the great drivers from Long Road Racing, that really translates immediately into what's going on. And that's why this simulation, I won't call it a game, it's a simulation, is such a great teaching aid for aspiring young drivers. And for also, for us in IMSA to be able to say, look, this is what we do. This is a presentation of what we do. We can't take a grid of cars to a high school or to a shopping mall, but we can take some sleds, Forza Motorsport, some TV screens, and say, here's the excitement. It's distilled down into this. This is what we do.
And you and I were talking about Sebring, our first, where you guys just came from, our first race of the day. And you said maybe our drivers were at a disadvantage because they really can't feel those bumps in the road or those G-forces.
Have no idea how they're doing it, because you feel it through your backside when the car starts to move around. And that's your cue bodily and physically and dynamically that the car is going to bounce around. These guys are controlling it without that happening.
Let's go to Brian and Evan right now as we're waiting for the adjudication process. Brian, what's going on?
And yes, it turns out we do have some adjudication. That's why we don't have final results yet. I'm here with Evan Thorogood. Evan, what are you guys looking at?
So we're looking at a lot more. There's still more to go through. But ultimately, we saw there was a group of cars, and Chris ended up bumping the car in front of him, which made the car in front lose a position. So Chris is going to get a 5-second penalty from that.
Okay, that's going to affect GT Chris's race, of course. There's still more to look at. We might be back with another report. Stay tuned, guys.
I appreciate that, Brian. And that's something that you don't have to deal with, right? Because once the car goes across the line, your job's pretty much done for the week.
We hope so. It's not unheard of, but it's far less prevalent in racing. The checkered flag normally means that the race is over. However, there have been a couple of very well publicised and controversial times when that hasn't happened, including at the Rolex 24 at Daytona, where watches had to be taken away and handed to someone else.
Right.
So it can happen. Protesting, mostly it happens with teams who maybe protest, or you go into post-race tech, something you don't have to worry about here, thank goodness, because all the cars are running to spec and you can control that exactly. But when a car has finished a race, it gets inspected once again by the technical side of IMSA, and Simon and his team do a fabulous job. And if it's outside of spec, then you can lose your position. That doesn't happen in this world. That's at least a little bit easier. But I like your adjudication. If we could do this as quickly and as relatively painlessly in the real world, I think that would be fantastic, because what you're seeing is that explanation there. It's almost like going to the umpire, going to the referee and saying, tell me what you're thinking about. Well, we're looking at this incident and we're going to assess it and say what penalty is appropriate. And, that sort of dialogue, you've got that transparency. And that's what competitors in any sport want. They want consistency and they want transparency, and they want the regulations applied as quickly as possible.
Well, with this track, and this is for both of you, Ali, with this track in particular, when you go through corkscrew, you're going to have some bumping and grinding R. Kelly style.
You're too right. You're too right. That's just the nature of the beast in so many ways. The track is thin. The braking zone's bumpy. The cars are close together and closing in on each other. You've got to expect a little bit of rubbing. But rubbing's racing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
That's what the movies say, anyway.
It's
cold trickle.
About that. cold trickle on me here, It's about that advantage gain, though, isn't it? And, all of the corner workers or marshals that I talk to all the way around the world, they're always looking out for time or distance advantage, whether it's a cut track, outside of track bounds, whether it's contact. If you make a mistake and you go wide, everybody understands you've probably disadvantaged yourself. So it's all about time or distance gained, and that's what the guys will be looking at right now, because that's exactly the same process we're going through here.
And with our sprint sort of format, the short laps, the finishing times are much, much more closer than a 168-lap race that you would do.
Yeah, and that's why these decisions aren't being taken lightly. 5 seconds here is going to be a big difference. 10 seconds, huge. Look at that battle pack that we had all the way through from the leader down to, what, 5th, 6th position in that last race. 10 seconds there is an absolute eternity, isn't it?
Yeah, and it can absolutely change your race result, and deservedly in some ways. We saw Leish coming through the pack there, and, I haven't seen that crash as many times as the adjudicators. They have more information than me, but, it didn't look good. Like, Nee deserved the right to fight for that position.
Well, he's been impressive. We've seen, some folks that we thought might be finishing at the bottom of the pack. Nee has been a guy that has come out and shown that, hey, us Aussies can do some racing.
He has. He's so chill. Showing up here, in that room, like you're saying, the Lion's Den.
Yeah.
Just, the most intimidating room for any Forza racing driver that exists. And he's just chilling out. He's like, I'm having a good time. I'm putting my races together, and I'm making good results.
I'm really interested to see, and I want to know what you guys think of this, is how the guys are developing through these races. Very different cars, very different tracks. They expected that. We've got a different challenge for them later on when we go to the teams championship, the teams challenge. And I just wonder, we're going into the last race now. Is it everything off the table now? It's like being at the end of a 500-mile race, in NASCAR. If you're Jimmy Johnson, somehow you're always in the top 10 with 20 laps to go. There's going to be guys who are finishing now and giving themselves a shot of the individual championship. But at this point, surely all rules are going to go out the window, and we're going to see more potential incidents for the adjudicators to look at.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to go out for the win. They're going to look for it. Lage last time out, though, Season 3, remember the final there, Scott? He gets penalized on the final race from trying too hard. And this is the danger of it. You know, you overstretch, you overpush, and you're going to find yourself making little mistakes like that.
Let's take a look at the official results of race number 3. And you can see there's Racers. He stays up front. Lightning, road number, Force 1. You look at the 5-second penalty. That's going to happen to Chris, and that's going to drop him 4 spots all the way down into 8th.
That's a big points loss there, guys, as well. That's going to really hurt his championship challenge, isn't it? And, wow.
Yeah, a great shame there for Chris. So interesting to see how that's going to weigh up, what permutations might be there for the final.
Yeah, I mean,
start doing the arithmetic.
Yeah, that's right.
See,
carry the one.
Maths was the double period Friday afternoon for me, and it will be no surprise to know that I didn't get an awful lot of it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, double period Friday afternoon, that's just playground time. That's what they mean.
It's time for race number 4. That's going to bring in Mellish, who's now the 4th member of our broadcast team.
No, I'm the 4th member, surely. He was always the 3rd. Don't demote him. I haven't passed him yet. He was blocking me.
Number 1 in our hearts. Tell us what's going on with the car and track combo here for race 4.
Well, we've had 3 cars of racing pedigree so far, and this one is no different. The guys at home have chosen the Aston Martin Vantage 2016.
Oh boy.
And it's a beautiful car, guys. It is top speed, top acceleration. It doesn't really matter if you've got traction control on or not, because we are going to Road America. And this is all about the nice straights, the sweeping bends, and there's quite a big margin for error as well. You know, you can extend the track fully and still make it back onto the track. Loads of infield space as well, runoff space in the grass, but that's not where these guys are going to be. Hopefully, fingers crossed. It's going to be definitely about the back straight as well. I think we're going to see a drag race to the finish.
Yeah, I mean, 12 cylinders going around Road Atlanta. That's a lot of power, gentlemen.
This is one of the longest circuits that we go to, Road America, a little over 4 miles around on the IMSA calendar. It's one of my personal favourites. They call it the America's National Park of Speed, and that's a perfect name for this place. It's about momentum. Turn 1, always much quicker than you think.
All right, let's start race number 4.
So the guys are getting ready out on the tournament floor, and there's no real peace here. Run down to the first corner, a right-hander, lots of runoff, but if you're out there, you're in trouble. Then a tricky downhill braking point through a little kink under the Briggs and Stratton Bridge and down to turn 3. Then that long run, Ali, to turn 5. Downhill braking there, but that's a big overtaking manoeuvre as we come towards the green flag. And I think we'll see a pretty stout defence by the man on pole position. He needs to get across. He hasn't got across early enough, and that's left the door wide open. That is an absolute textbook overtaking manoeuvre by Lightning as he tries to force his way through. But I don't think he quite got that done.
Racers there trying to turn into turn 1, finding Lightning up there on the inside, and there's no way to get that car rotated. He's out, losing positions all over the place.
Can you believe this? It's too wide all the way down to turn 3, and now heading on that long curving rise under the Sargento Bridge and down towards turn number 5. This is a really crucial area, one of the big action areas always for IMSA cars. These Aston Martins, the GT12s, good aero on these cars, so you get good mechanical grip and good aero grip as well. Roadrunner up into 2nd place, GTZ Chris in 3rd position. Up towards Corvette Corner, sun in the eyes in the late afternoon is when the time scale is here. Little bit wide from GTZ Chris, and now heading up to turn 8 and down the Hurry Downs.
Yeah, we were on board there with Force 1, sniffing around on Chris, looking for a way through. Absolutely nothing given by the German, who's had a great performance ever since his disappointment in race number 2.
This grid of Aston Martin GT12s, absolutely fantastic. Effectively a GT4 formula car. I've driven the V8 version of this at the Circuit of the Americas in a 24-hour race last year. It's a beautiful car to drive. It makes you feel very comfortable indeed, and these races have got down to it very quickly indeed. Through the kink, fastest and one of the most intimidating corners in all of US motorsport, and now all the way just downhill slightly towards Canada Corner. Difficult braking area here, you can't see the exit.
Yeah, Canada Corner is always faster than you think it is. There's so much runoff on the way out. You can see Rossi using all of it there to threaten on racers. The next is going to be a left-hander. Can he make this work?
Used to be a bridge over the track here. Not any longer because there's a new tunnel. You often get a little bump there where the tunnel goes into the infield area through the final corner. This is another crucial one right out onto the rumble strip. JSR Rossi under pressure in 7th position. The leaders are getting away. He can see that. And it's 4 wide. 2+2 going into the first corner. This is extraordinary racing. And there's all kinds of defense and attack going on at the same time. Where is anybody looking? I haven't got a clue.
Yeah, Roadrunner right at the top there. We saw it only over Lightning's shoulder. Roadrunner sniffing around for first place here. So it's come down to that classic match in the Forza Racing Championship, TX3 Lightning versus AMS Roadrunner, and we've got G2 Lage, who snuck his way up to 3rd.
Yeah, that was a very smart move indeed in the early corner of that second lap for Lage, who's coming through. GTC Chris still finding a little bit of speed. I don't think you can afford any damage here, Ali, because this is such a quick circuit. Oh, mistake there at turn 5. Just outbraked himself there as he was trying to go into the left-hander.
Yeah, Lightning pushing so hard, and that was the lead. He had the lead of this race, so I want to see whether or not Roadrunner made it up there. But we're sitting on board here with, this is Lage, right? This is G2 Lage we're riding with, and he's fighting off an absolute gaggle of cars trying to get up his inside.
Yeah, and he's having to look behind rather than focus forward. He'll want to get after those pair ahead of him, and we've already seen the leader make a mistake. Lightning then, did he hold on to that lead? No, he didn't. Roadrunner's gone through. Roadrunner has gone through into the lead, and Lightning is going to be so disappointed. But at this point, Ali, he's just got to get that out of his mind, refocus, and get his heart rate back down again.
That is so important for Roadrunner that he's taken the lead here. He's been behind Lage at the start of the races. He's now in front towards the end. This could be the win for Roadrunner if he can make this stick.
Well, it looked like Roadrunner may have lost that position again as we had a quick look at the battle pack at the front of the field. Rossi in 9th, trying to make up position. It looked like he wasn't having any joy at all. Look at the battle from 3rd on down. Everybody is in 4th position. Extraordinary stuff. And at the front of the field, the leading pair are still very close together. Pressure is on now. We're a 1/3 of the way through the race here in the Forza Racing Championship 2018 Pre-season Invitational, presented by IMSA, the deciding race for the individual championship.
And what a doozy it is. These Astons have been providing incredible overtaking opportunities all the way around Road America. I mean, these cars have been side by side since the start.
It's like watching a 2-wide restart every time we come across the start-finish line, but we're in full green flag mode and down towards that first corner again, that fast right-hander. The lead is still getting away. Racers just dropping back a little bit, finding a little bit of pace. It's nip and tuck all the way around. Interesting to see where some drivers are better on the circuit than others, clearly enjoying the braking better. These cars quite stable under braking, it would seem, and the guys who've got their heads around the braking are able to make up the ground.
Races, yeah, I mean, you're talking about braking. This guy's locking up turn 1 and locking up turn 2. Big red glowing discs on the front of that car and producing all that smoke. It's not the fastest way around, but it's not going to hurt him too badly.
Well, the races are so short that it's not going to burn the tyres out too much, so he shouldn't suffer from grip. That's the big worry on any GT car, relatively heavy, 2,600 to 2,800 pounds, 13 to 1,500 kilos or thereabouts. And once you start losing the grip on the back end, you're in big trouble because you can't slow the car down when you're braking, the back end comes around, and you can't get the power on coming out of the corners.
We're on board here with AMS Roadrunner, who's hunting down for the lead.
Let's head to Melish, who's watching the battles right throughout the field. What you got for us, Melish?
Well, at the moment, guys, this is the closest race we've seen out of the 4 races. We're halfway through this race, and it's 800 feet separating 1st and 8th. That's how close this is. And, you know, you talk about Roadrunner getting away. It's all small margins at the moment. It's minor errors, you know, missing those gear changes. That's really making a difference right now.
Yeah, and through the kink, a little bit of damage there. Just clip the wall on the left-hand side, and immediately the rear light goes out. That's a really good visual clue as to who's getting damage early on. The slightest tap is knocking that rear light out. Battle for the lead, coming through to the end of the 4th lap. 2/3 distance. Lightning with what, maybe a couple of Aston Martins distance between himself and Roadrunner. That has changed again. It's been fighting backwards and forwards. These guys are having a cracking race. Down in 4th position, just a little bit of a gap opening up between the leading 2, then 3rd, which is Lage at the moment. He's in a bit of clear air at the moment. Now, if he's going to gain on those guys, he's got to pull the pin now.
Yeah, now's the time to turn the magnets on for Lage, right? He's got to be pulling himself up to the rear of that battle for the lead and throwing in an absolute banzai for the last lap. But this is coming on fire here in the battle for 6th.
6th position, Box holding on at the minute, came in from the middle of the road. Classic defensive line at Road America. Nothing wrong with that. Don't like to see people weaving around and trying to restrict people getting up the inside, but he took a good line there, making that Aston Martin absolutely as wide as it could be. I think he might have got a little bit of a better exit there onto this back straight under the Sargento Bridge again. This is all climbing up through a little kink, and then it's dropping down to turn 5. He's going to be under pressure there from about half the field, actually.
It's a tough one, right? These kinds of battles in the second pack, you know, every time you get side by side with somebody, you're losing race time, you're slipping back through the order, but you want to be the one in the lead. You want to be the one chasing. And, you know, so you lose time.
There's no time to be patient here. You've got to push. This is not 50 minutes behind the wheel doing a stint on fuel. This is not managing your tyres. This is not taking a breath and thinking, I'll have another chance. This is go time. You leave nothing on the track. Get going, or you're going to go home. The championship's on the line right now, and we've only got a couple of laps to go.
Yeah, the guy who's not having any patience here is race number 3 winner. Races there, sniffing all over the rear of JSR Rossi. You can see him giving him trouble through the kink there, just coming down into the infield.
The leading pair getting away. Question on my mind is whether Lage in 3rd place is closing up behind them. Meantime, everyone, these guys having a great battle, but it's for scraps here at the moment because the guys out front are disputing the championship. He's Lage, 3rd position when we last saw him. Concentration, a picture of concentration, but also of calm, of serenity. You would think he was selecting to play something off the hard drive. You can't see any movement at all. Economy of movement. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, Lage is such a pro. There's a lot that the other drivers could learn from him, I think. Hard BR, he's shown some brilliant pace in the individual competition so far, but it's been little mistakes that have let him down, and he's now fighting for 10th, whereas Lage, he's up there in 3rd.
Is 3rd enough for Lage? That's the question. We've done the arithmetic. We haven't done the arithmetic. I've got... I wasn't allowed to take my abacus into maths exams when I was younger. That's how long ago it was when I did maths exams. But this battling is absolutely brilliant, and what it is showing is just the skill of these drivers and the quality of the kind of racing that you can expect all through this season in Forza Motorsport. Let's head back to Melish, who's watching these battles further down the field. Melish.
Yeah, I'm on board with Lage right now. You were talking about him earlier. Can he make it to the front pack? Well, he's got all that clean air, while Roadrunner and Lightning just have at it going into the last couple of laps, and he is making ground every single corner. If you look right now, he is on the back bumper of Roadrunner. Roadrunner just can't seem to make it round Lightning.
Great pick-up, Melish, and he is coming like Casey Jones and the Cannonball Express at the moment. There'll be no sounding of the horn when he gets there. He's going to have to strike quickly, though, Ali, because we're running out of laps and we're running out of time. Does he play it safe, pick up the points, or does he go for the big win?
Lage will always go for the big win. You cannot put it past him. This guy has no off switch. He is a racer through and through. I've got to say, though, this is exactly what we wanted to see, and this is such a great way to end the individual competition, these last 2 laps. The 3 people we wanted to see out there, Lightning, Roadrunner, and G2 Lage.
G2 Lage gets a great run out of the carousel and running up towards the back of the leaders. 4th position. Force Line just holding on to that at the moment. Did he drift a little bit wide there as he's, Force 1 rather, as he's heading down the Canada corner? I think he did. And GTZ Chris has got to run on him. He's got to go to the inside early. He does. Tries the late braking manoeuvre, let off the brakes and tried to cruise down the inside. But that was really last of the late braking by the 4th place car. And GTZ Chris couldn't get it done.
Beautiful trail braking there from Force 1 as he came across the nose of Chris, just held him out from getting onto that apex. And, you know, nice driving is what you had to say from Chris, backing out that move and not forcing the issue.
No, but that's what we call giving drivers racing room. It happens all over the world. It has to happen, otherwise you're going to end up in bent car and carbon fibre to take home in a bin bag. Not the way we want to see anything happening. And the etiquette that we're seeing here is absolutely superb. That's why these guys are the top of their tree. Last lap now, Ali. This is the battle for 4th position into turn 1. And Force 1, little bit conservative through there now. Is there a chance down the inside? Look at the battles ahead, by the way.
Yeah.
That's the leading trio going through turn 3. And that one is on because we've got the leading 3 together.
You're absolutely right. This is all now about the battle between Lightning, Roadrunner, and Lage. We're on board with Lage. He's looking up the road towards those 2 other podium sitters, and he needs this, John. He needs it quickly.
Lightning has got enough of a gap. If he's clean from here, I'm going to say he can win it from here. But has he got the mentality to hold on to this? He made a mistake in this part of the circuit earlier on in the race, and it cost him the lead for what, half, 3/4 of a lap. Roadrunner pounced. Roadrunner is one thing, but Lage being there as well, any mistake now, any one of these 3 could win it, or they could all end up with the wall.
You're absolutely right. Lightning there. You know, we've seen him make mistakes over and over in this competition so far. He's got to hang on, just grip onto that track, grip onto that steering wheel for the last few corners. Here it is, the very tough carousel. Double apex that, and all 3 of them just drifting that Aston in. Beautiful slip angle you see on this car.
You know, we call that a double apex. It's just an endless apex, isn't it? It goes on forever. Extraordinary piece of race circuit. I think Lightning's got this one so long as he can get through Canada Corner. I'm not sure that second place is quite as secure as we head back down the field to look at some of the battles later on or further down the field. These are going to be just for the minor places, though, and the championship is going to be battled out by those front 3. And the Invitational, for the Pre-season Invitational for the individual championship is coming to the line.
You're absolutely right. 2/10 separate second and third. There he is, Lage, sniffing all over Roadrunner, who's blocking on the last corner.
He's defending, and that's going to cost him up the hill. I've seen the races won and lost from this point here at Road America. Who's got the ponies? Who's got the power? They'll come to the line. It's going to be Lightning that will take it. Roadrunner gets that second position, but Lage comes through in third after picking his way through the pack. Marvellous stuff at Road America. That's why the IMSA fans love it so much, and that's why they call it America's National Park of Speed.
You know, kudos to you, voters. Kudos to you. You chose the right track
They
there.
did.
That was absolutely awesome.
Well, Lightning just takes a deep breath and holds on. Unbelievable stuff. Scott, you were watching that on the edge of your seat, man. That's the type of racing we get in IMSA all the time at that track. Brilliant stuff. Perfect car for the job, I reckon.
I think what you guys mentioned, giving a sort of a tip of the cap to the community out there on a well done on the voting for race number 4. And now it's all going to come down to the math.
Yes.
It all comes down to the math. We sit here, you know, trying to so where was Lightning on race number 1?
Don't ask me about that now. I'm still trying to get my heart rate down, and we were only calling that race. I think this pre-season invitational, guys, is just getting better and better.
Yeah, as you start moving along, you know, you sort of, I guess when you're doing 160 laps, you sort of try to pace yourself a little bit. You guys got different shifts. But when you're just running 6 laps at Road America, it is all the way full throttle.
Magnificent stuff. The guys just discussing it. There's quite a bit of chat actually going on between the races, between some of the guys there. Other guys are just zoning it out, not getting involved. And there's been a little bit of talk before this event as well, which we'll get into when we get into the teams competition. But there's a bit of chat going backwards and forwards between these guys. I mean, everybody there's got a story to tell, Ali, because there was racing up and down the field.
There was racing everywhere. There's so much contact. There's going to be a few people, I think, a little bit aggrieved by the way that ForzaRC pre-season invitational came to an end. But they'll be sorting that out between themselves. It's mostly amicable. They've got great respect for each other on the track.
And the mistake that Lightning made when he lost the lead, that was his mistake. I didn't see anything that needed to be adjudicated there. Stuff that was going on behind may not affect the overall championship. Okay, it might affect some of the minor positions. You've got to give some massive kudos there, Scott, to Lightning, who took his opportunity, lost it, gathered himself back up again, didn't try to make it up in the next 2 corners. Good stuff.
Let's take a look at the Michelin moment. You talked about Lightning and his charge up here in race number 4. Ali, what'd you see?
Yeah, this was absolutely knockout stuff. The battle between Roadrunner and Lightning for that lead. It went back and forward, didn't it, throughout this race?
I thought the way he placed his car in the places where he might have an opportunity to be passed, I thought he was very clever, he was very fair, but he made that car very, very wide indeed, and the Aston Martin worked for him very nicely.
There we go, Rossi then through the kink and box, trying to get up the inside. That's a dangerous place to go too wide, and actually the 2 of them were lucky to get through. Harbiar, excuse me, not Rossi.
Yeah, Hard BR falling back after that race number 3. We got the provisional results ready, so let's have an opportunity to take a look here. You guys called it. Let's see how it shaked out as you see Lightning, Roadrunner, and Lage, your top 3.
I think Force One will be a little bit disappointed there, Ali, that he couldn't get to those leaders. It had a good start, was disputing it early on. Ultimately, Lage was the guy who bridged that gap and got to the leaders.
There is like this little bubble of Forza drivers, and there's 3 people in them, and it's Lightning, Roadrunner, and Lage. Those guys are so fast. Force One, you know, yeah, he's frustrated that he won't be up there in the top 3, won't be standing on the podium, but, you know, ain't that always the way when those 3 guys are on the track?
And great battling from 5th on down. Basically, everybody had a turn at the front of that battle pack that we had from 5th on back. Brilliant stuff. Thoroughly enjoyed that.
I think some adjudication is going to come into play
Do you
here. And I also think that, you know, if Lage, I think if he could have moved into 2nd place there at the end, he might have cemented himself as the overall winner.
It was that last little battle, wasn't it? Lage maybe, I don't know if it was lacking aggression, but if he could pile just a little bit more pressure on there, maybe force Roadrunner into a clumsy move on Lightning, he could have snuck on both.
But, you know, we're talking about that the last lap or so of that race. Did Lage not lose his opportunity in the reverse grid race when he had that incident early on and only came back to 8th? You look at, always look at the last game of the season, the last race of the championship, but sometimes you've got to go a little bit further back than that just to see where the turning point of the season, or in this case, the championship was.
And think about it, you know, the start of this event, Lage wins race 1, it's easy, no trouble at all, disappears, wins race 2 and does the same thing, and then it just came undone in that reverse grid, and he hasn't been able to get back onto the top step of the podium since then.
So what you're saying is reverse grid good, adds to the drama for not only us, but I hope the viewers as well.
Well, and I think it's a new challenge for the drivers as well, because they have to have a different mindset in, what do? Do I make that pass now, and do I risk, okay, I'm up to 6th. I started in, let's say, 12th. I'm up to 6th. That's not a bad result, but I'm going to go for 5th. And then I end back up and down in 8th again. It's that compromise that you've got to think, and you've got to be weighing it up all the time. Almost doing that thing that grid race drivers, you remember Michael Schumacher, always had so much mental capacity left to think, where do I want to be? Who am I battling against? Am I really battling against him? No, I've got the guys behind me. That's who I'm battling. And that's what they're having to do in such a short space of time.
And that was why it's such a surprise to see Lage making a mistake like that, because he's always been the cerebral one. He's been the one able to make those kinds of decisions and weigh up the odds during a race.
Through these first 4 races, who's been the disappointment so far? I know you never like to be negative Nancy, but who underperformed?
It's such a tough pack out there. And I don't want to be that guy and be like, oh, everyone's done really well, you know, like top marks for effort. I mean, if I'm pushed to say someone who's underperformed, I would say JSR Rossi. And it's not so much because he's underperformed. It's more because of the amount of hype that I heard about him coming into this new season.
Well, he had some opportunities. You can't say he didn't. He battled at times, being able to run into the wall there at Road Atlanta, still be able to bounce back. Nice finish there. But when the rubber hit the road in race 4, where was he?
Exactly. Not able to push his way up there. And if I'm honest, that kind of a car on that kind of a track, you know, like a speed car, basically. It's quite heavy. It's not like going to have a lot of aerodynamic grip through the corners. That's his bread and butter, Rossi. Right. He loves a power car. And so I thought he should have been doing better there.
Well, it's an absolute #1 precept of racing that when you've got the stars aligning and you've got the right equipment on the right track, you've got to get the result. And when it's going to be so tight as it is here, you've got to make that advantage count. And if that's your bread and butter, that's where you've got to score big, and he didn't.
Exactly. You have to make hay when the sun shines.
What about our new faces, outsiders? Racers comes in, you know, in his 3rd race, and with the help of the reverse grid, of course, but able to hold on and get a win.
I'm so excited for races. You know, I'm so excited that he's coming out to this event and he's had a great time. He's got himself some results that are just awesome. Like, you know, 2018's coming along. We've got a whole ForzaRC season ahead of us this year. And this guy's just put his flag right there in the sand and says, I'm a race winner, and you guys have to watch out for me.
And I think that'll do wonders for his confidence. You know, getting that first victory in the company that he's there with behind us on the tournament floor, that is going to make him feel a lot better about himself. And, you know, all of these guys are brilliant. All of these guys have the skills. They wouldn't be here if they didn't. But just like in the real world, there's so much that is confidence-based. And he's got a bit of momentum as well. The big Mo, taking that forward to the season, I wouldn't bet against it, you know.
Your wild card pick, Hard BR. What happened?
Well, he tipped him.
Yeah.
The curse of the virtual commentator works just the same.
There you go.
Your fault. Hashtag blame Ali. I'm sorry. It's got to be there.
That's been trending for
Cut
years.
to the call.
That
Cut to the
hashtag's
call.
been
Sorry, man.
trending for years.
I mean, he did all right, though. He did all right. He led the race for a little bit at Laguna Seca. He was out there. He showed his pace. And he showed that he deserved to be up here in this grid of drivers. Just, didn't manage to bring back that big W.
Now for Chic Pizza, he's another guy that ended up finishing where we thought he would finish. Had some good race 1, race 2 actually looked pretty good, middle of the pack, but then we hit 3 and 4, just fell off.
Yeah, it was a shame to see. It was a shame to see, right? I mean, when drivers lose momentum like that, how do you get it back while you're mid-race or while you're mid-competition? Is there some way that you could go through it yourself or something you've seen?
I think it's hard. I think you've just got to calm yourself down. Let's head on to the tournament floor. Shannon is waiting for us to give us some updates.
Guys, we are up on the roof of this beautiful facility in downtown Seattle, and I want to take a moment to talk about the overachiever for today. The overachiever for today is America's Boy. America's Boy, Force 1, he has shown an amazing performance today. Top 5 in all the races, and I actually was going to talk about him as an up-and-comer because he also is only 17 years old from New Jersey. It's been an amazing day. We've got lots more to come, and actually, while we're waiting for that, speaking of America's Boy, I'm going to go grab myself some Bubba's Burger based in Jacksonville, Florida. They've come all the way out here to give everyone some yummy burgers, but let's wait and see who's going to be on top.
Okay, I've got to be up there. Right.
Welcome back to Seattle and the Forza Racing Championship 2018 Pre-season Invitational presented by IMSA. We're on the individual parts still to come. We've got the team competition, brand new. We're about to find out, and we don't know. We haven't had the envelope. We're not going to call out that it's La La Land that's won. We don't know who has done this, but we're going to go upstairs and see the joy and the pain. Tell me, first of all, though, what you think about those first road races, the 4 races. I mean, 3 of those picked by our audience. I think they did a pretty good job, if I'm honest.
They did incredible. You know, I loved the Ford GT at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, but that was your pick.
That's my pick. I like that one. And I mean, yeah, I mean, maybe I would have wanted to have seen the other option, I think, for the last race. That was like the Caddy around Daytona. I do like that. I like to bring things down a little bit, you know, every now and again. Just have like a cruising car.
Well, just from my point of view, because I've never seen it before in real life, I wanted to see the prototype of VIR because it doesn't happen.
Nice. Yeah,
you know?
Of course.
And that, I was like, oh, come on. But in fairness, we had a great race there. What is now... Now we've got some of the drivers who've just been competing will be going on to the team's competition. So they're all upstairs at the moment waiting to find out who's won the Invitational, who's our new champion. And then they've got to get in a huddle with the team. It's a slightly different mindset, what we're going to say next.
It's a different mindset, and it's just a busy, busy day for a driver who's competing in the individual and moving on to the team. That's not all of them. A few people are going to be changing, seat swapping around. But yeah, I mean, you have to get up there and you have to change from this me first, I just need to get across the line, doesn't matter what carnage I cause or what goes wrong, to a much more strategic, much more calculated way of driving, which is about opening up positions for other people and all that sneaky stuff that teams do so well.
Now, will they be able to talk to each other doing that, or will it be a little look of the eye? Or they haven't got headsets on to talk to each other like pits to car radio?
Yeah, they've got their Pletronics on, so they can all chat to each other, be talking away, chatting it through the race. I would guess, yeah. And so they've
up the inside of me here, up the inside of me here. Come on, I'll hold this guy off.
Open him up. Yeah.
I'm going to push this guy wide. Come on, I love the thought of that. So this is more like Peloton cycle racing than perhaps what we've seen in the past in motor racing. I can only liken it to the Race of Champions when you're racing for your nation. The other thing I know about that is that gets inside people's heads. That when you've got, you know, not just you on your shoulders, but you've got your two teammates as well. And I'll be interested to see how the guys handle that different pressure. It's just a new challenge for them.
Well, with the off-season being so long, and with the guys being
how come
away
you
from the track
guys have
so
a
long?
longer off-season in virtual racing than we do in real-world racing?
I mean, you know, John, you've got to understand like how long it feels when you just want to see some racing, you know? And, you know, with it being so long, they haven't had a chance to do this fighting on the track. They haven't been able to do it there, so they've been doing it on Twitter instead, all of them arguing away. You know, you've stolen this driver, you've got the
trash talk on Twitter?
So much trash talk.
No.
I know, yeah.
Let's take a look at the race results from the 4th of 4 of the invitational runs here at the Forza Racing Championships on the pre-season Invitational. Now, we can't do that just at the moment. My apologies. I'm just getting so overexcited because I want to find out who's winning it. Who do you reckon?
Yeah, who do you reckon? That's a good question. I mean, like, so Lage wins race 1 and 2, walks away with that. Comes, like, last in race 3, not actually last. He's
eighth,
way down, 8th, way down the order. And then race 4, he gets a 3rd place finish.
Right.
Roadrunner, he's been a bit more slow and steady throughout the event.
Consistent.
Consistent. Has he won a race? I don't think he's won one race, but always up there on the podium.
Yeah.
Even in the reverse grid, even in the last race.
I thought he was sparkling in the reverse grid. I thought there was some calculated driving from Roadrunner. I thought that showed a maturity. I thought it showed, you know, having said you can't have that much patience, it's a balance, isn't it, between that all attack mode that can leave you looking like a star or in the wall with broken suspension.
Yeah, and a 5-place penalty to boot, you know, the whole thing.
Yeah.
I agree, and it's that patience that makes you look super skillful as well, right? Because we just flash back to Roadrunner every few laps. He wasn't doing anything spectacular, but he was climbing up the order every time we saw him. Yeah, so I mean, that's him through and through. He's done a good job here. I don't know if he's done enough. Lightning, what do you reckon?
Well, I thought that last race was pretty well good. One mistake. You can't really afford one mistake, but he got away with it. And he's now got that big W on the scorecard. I think that'll make a difference for him going forward, whether it's been enough to catapult him to the top and win the championship. What does winning this pre-season invitational presented by IMSA, what does that mean for a driver? What can they take forward and parlay from this?
This is the first joust in a season, a year of Forza. You know, 2018 is a massive year for the Forza Racing Championship. So many events, so many things coming up, and you need, you know, like you said, the big momentum. You need momentum pushing through that. You need a reputation, so people will treat you well on the track and maybe be a little bit scared of you as well.
Well, but it also puts a target on your back, doesn't it? You know, we saw from the Le Mans event last year when Roadrunner took that, perhaps controversially. Well, I think he silenced some of his critics here today for that straight away. But it does put a target on your back, doesn't it?
It certainly does. You know, all these drivers, they're the ones to beat now.
Yeah.
And if you find yourself, you know, with a question mark, shall I back off the throttle or keep in it and maybe knock Lage off, and it won't be an adjudicated thing? Maybe you stay on the throttle a little bit.
I'm sure because I'm here this weekend, there's a lot of IMSA fans watching this type of racing for the first time. And one of the things they will have noticed is there's no pedals and wheels here. Everybody's playing on the same controller. Fabulous way to level the field. You don't have to go out and spend a lot of money. And anybody who's watching now can enter the full championship this year. How does that work?
So all you have to do is head on over to ForzaRC.com. You link up your Xbox gamer tag with an account on there, and then you're just good to go. I mean, and as you say, it's a controller-based formula. So instead of having to spend hundreds on a wheel, you're spending $50, you know, buying yourself a controller. You're fast as anybody. All these guys, and you've seen their racing etiquette. You've seen how close they can race with each other. They're using the control inputs through their thumbs, through their triggers, all that stuff.
But what was interesting to me is not everybody does it the same way. We've got Melish here, who's a bit of a tapper. Saw that yesterday. It's all little movements on the thumbs. And, you know, I fly RC helicopters, so I use the sticks in a different way, which really messed with my mind when I was trying to drive the track yesterday. Then you get the people who are very smooth. We've got both of those on the tournament floor, both competing at the same high level.
Yeah.
So it's just personal preference, really.
It's personal preference. You know, some people can do both, and then they can choose. You know, it's like being ambidextrous, and sometimes it's just useful to be left-handed. You know, like
I'd give my right arm to be left-handed. I would.
There you go. All right.
I just wonder though, are there some cars that particularly suit one style or the other? You know, Melish earlier on was telling us about no traction control this year and how that might mean that people who are a bit more of a tapper need to be a bit more progressive on the throttle.
Okay.
So do some cars, and you know, mid-engine or front-engine rear drive cars, do they suit people's driving style more? Because what you're not going to get is the ability to always be in the right car for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about rear-wheel drive cars. It's all about those are the ones where you're going to start to see a difference being made. You know, if you're very, very smooth with a rear-wheel drive car, you can do stuff that I think arguably you can't do tapping, and that's just it's minutiae. It's tenths of a second, but it all counts towards that ultimate lap time. And you know, as you know, it's those tenths of a second that make seconds at the end of a race.
And wherever you are in the world, 7 different countries represented here, literally hundreds around the world who can enter this. It's absolutely no barrier wherever you are. Right, enough from us. Let's find out the burning answer to the big question. Who is our Forza Racing Championship 2018 Pre-season Invitational Individual Champion, presented by IMSA? Let's go to the roof.
Thanks, gentlemen. We are up here on the rooftop. I'll be honest with you, we're freezing up here in Seattle, but those folks that have the opportunity to take the podium right now, they're not even thinking about the weather. So let's get right to it. The individual champions, the guys that are going to hit the podium here for the Invitational here in Seattle. In third place, the man from North Carolina, Lightning. Pretty good comeback there from the man from North Carolina. From across the pond in second place, Roadrunner, the former champ. And your overall winner, folks, he's back. The Frenchman, Lage. And now we're going to have Elliot Lyons, who's the multiplayer design director from Turn 10. He's going to pass out the rewards. These are your podium, your top 3 on the Invitational. All right, folks, we are going to party up here a little bit. We're getting ready for some team racing. We're going to have some Bubba Burgers. We're going to really celebrate up here. But while we do, we're going to kick it back to the desk. Back to you, John and Allie.
I wondered why Scott was desperate to take that. There's food upstairs. The grill is on. That is, you know, that's payback as far as Lage is concerned. Didn't win on home ground at Le Mans. Comes out to Seattle and takes it.
Yeah, he did enough in the first races. He did it. You know, it was race 1, race 2 wins there, which he could rest on with arguably poorer performances in race 3 and 4.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be happy with that, but I think he'll take the championship. Let's confirm the results straight away from round number 4 from Road America with those Aston Martins. Clearly, no adjudications needed to be done. No, it's absolutely clean, top to bottom. Lightning, Roadrunner, so close, but the 12 points from Lage in third position takes the Frenchman to the top step of the podium. Force One in fourth, could have been a bit better from him. I think he'll be looking at that. And the confirmation that Lage by just 3 points. So just did enough in that last race. And, you know, when we were picking him out at Master Raceway Laguna Seca about that could have been the race that cost him, well, it wasn't. He did enough to get that championship victory.
I mean, first of all, massive congratulations to Lage for pulling that out. But now I want to play shoulda, woulda, coulda with you. No.
All right, yeah, of course you do.
And if Roadrunner had gotten ahead of Lightning that last race, that would have been 5 extra points, and that would have been the champion, top step of the podium for him.
Man.
There was so little in it, just that one position. So close stuff there for Roadrunner and Lightning. Force One and Racers, though, the little buddy movie continues in 4th and 5th for those two.
Yeah, and separated by just a handful of points. So one position for Roadrunner is what's cost him the Invitational here, the pre-season Invitational on the individual side. No taking it away from the Frenchman. Lage has done a cracking job. Brilliant stuff.
Absolutely awesome.
Now, mindset, take out one chip, put in another.
Is it that easy?
Yeah, I think that's how it works, isn't it? Isn't that how it works? Don't go anywhere because the racing continues. Something brand new for Forza and the pre-season Invitational, because we're palling some of these guys up. Teams has been brilliant in the past and an important part of Forza, but they have to race together as a team. That's still coming up, but not before we've heard from the new champion. Surely a smiling face on the face of our winner. Shannon?
What a fantastic day, and what a comeback. How does it feel to be back on top?
Definitely good. It's better to be on top than second or third.
It's been a year, you told me, since you've been on top. What did it take to get back here, and what made you work so hard to get back here?
Still the same answer, just I don't like losing, so I worked to be on top, and then I'm really glad to be here again.
You know, it was an up and down day. I mean, you started on top, and you kind of fell back a little bit, and, you know, had to work really hard. Tell me a little bit about what it was that, you know, you had to fight for today.
Well, I mean, the two first races went really good. I mean, first by a lot of margin, but on the third race it was the reverse grid, and then so I started last. It was a bit messy on the first lap, and then I couldn't avoid someone, and then because of that I spun, lost approximately 10 seconds during that lap, and then I had to find my way back, and I think I finished 8th or something. So yeah, definitely it was the hardest race here.
So, you know, the reverse grid is an interesting and new format. And do you think that that kind of gave you a little bit of a hesitation and made you hesitate, which, you know, in turn created an error?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely something I'm not used to. I mean, I've done that in a French championship like a long time ago, but I'm not used to it anymore. So it was definitely a really challenging thing.
Tell me a little bit about the competition today. Was it different than it has been in the past? Is it getting stiffer?
Not really. I mean, we're still racing for victory and to be first, no matter if there's a prize money or no. So I think it was pretty the same than last year.
Well, congratulations. You've got another set of races to get onto. So you've joined a new team. How's that going for you?
It feels good. It feels good. I mean, it's my first race for G2 and Fernando Alonso, and managed to take the win. So hopefully it will help for the year.
How does it feel to be representing someone like Fernando Alonso in the esports scene as a driver?
It definitely feels good. I mean, it's awesome to have someone such as Fernando being involved in esport and being part of the team. I mean, I feel grateful for that.
Awesome. Well, one more thing. Tell me what you have to do as you shift your mindset going into these next set of races with the team format.
Sorry? Oh, the team format. Well, I think it will be very interesting. But I'm not part of it for now, but I will definitely watch that closely.
Okay. Well, good luck with the rest of the season, and we'll be rooting for you. And back to you guys.
He is human. He said it put him off a bit, that reverse grid format. Everybody's been asking for it for years. It's happened. It shook things up.
You say he's human. I think I saw some wires there, John. I'm pretty sure. He doesn't make mistakes often. Every now and again, though, just enough to remind us that it is possible to beat Lage every now and again.
Every now and again. Just, you know, just to let everybody else have a chance once in a while. I tell you what, the Fernando Alonso thing's interesting because I've got a feeling he's going to get better results than Fernando for most of the season this year. Although Fernando, of course, has the opportunity in a second World Championship this year. He's racing in endurance. Already been a part of the IMSA Championship this year at the Rolex 24 at Daytona, and will go on to race through the World Endurance Championship and, of course, race at Le Mans. It'd be interesting to see how that happens. That is a change of scenery for him, but his charge did pretty well today.
He did. He's done an absolutely outstanding job, and keep in mind this is almost still the sort of interview period for that, you know. So he's absolutely stormed it. He's done what he needed to do, and really come back after what was a fallow year, let's put it that way, in 2017.
Yeah, a lot of people were trying to write him off, weren't they, and saying, you know, that his best years are behind him at that really old age. But it clearly isn't the case. He's focused down today. All right, made that mistake, but he's come back from that. That's where the experience shows. He didn't let it get to to him and carried on in that final race to close out the championship.
You know, did just enough as well. Did just enough. I'd love to, you know, talk to him. And I'll talk to him later on, I'm sure, about how much he knew about the points, how much he'd managed to work it out. I've spoken to him before, and the guy is incredible. He'll be able to work it all out in his head. He'll know the permutations. He knew more than us, probably.
Well, much like his countryman Alan Prost, who was called the professor in Formula One, I think he probably knew what was going on. Right, let's head back up to the roof where Scott has got some more for us. Okay, Scott, we need some real insight into what's been going on in the racing in the last 4 races. What have you got for us?
Thanks, gentlemen. We've had a crazy first half of the day. We got team races coming up next. I'm hanging out with Andy. Andy's working me up a Bubba Burger. Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. Hot off the grill. I'll do well with that. I'm gonna let simmer for a second here. We've had some amazing races. Congratulations to Lage, Lightning, Roadrunner for their top 3 finishes. Getting to call races with John and hanging out with the guys. That's really what it's all about here. But right now, we're gonna party for a little bit. We're gonna celebrate the invitational and the individual side of things winding down. I'm gonna eat this Bubba Burger. And I'm going to let you watch a little Bubba Burger. Maybe it'll make you hungry as I am.
Welcome, everyone, to the Team Talk segment. We are
some Forza 7 before breakfast.
Let's get it.
Let's do it. Wait, what? How long? Some Forza 7 before sunrise?
Let's get it.
Bubba Burger, proud sponsor of the Forza Racing Championship.